All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And Wabu Dude, thank you so much for dropping a few super chats before we even go live here. I'll read them in just a moment once I finish up the intro. The first thing I have to do is this. Every Grand Theft Auto fan, every Rockstar fan waking up today. Nice butterscotch color. I'm glad you like that, Prince G. I'm glad you like that. But yeah, you need to go for it. Yeah, it's either that soundbite or you wake up, you read the news that GTA 6 is delayed for over a year, and gaming is over. Yesterday, we find out that Microsoft is raising the prices across the board, and today, GTA 6 is delayed till this time next year. It's actually like a 13-month delay. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that quite extensively today, guys. We were anticipating getting GTA 6 news in the month of May. And, you know, Rockstar doing it nice and early. Not necessarily the news that I think we were anticipating. I have seen quite a few people express, surprisingly, some shock about the delay. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the implications this has on the remainder of 2025, the implications it has on 2026 and the remainder of this generation. And, yeah. And we have Corey the Legend coming in with a 5-bomb right off the bat in the name of Boss. I already know. What's he doing, bro? What are you... Oh, yeah. Mrs. MBG gave him his Silver Vine stick here. And he really likes it. Likes to mess around with it. Corey, thank you so much for that, man. Yeah, we'll see if we can hit that goal, 25 members today. Ow. Bro, that hurt. Whatever I predict, the opposite happens. It's pretty much true. I mean, there's a consistent track record where, like, basically whatever I say, bank on the opposite. PlayStation Showcase. No PlayStation Showcase. GTA is coming in 2025. It's definitely not coming in 2025. Sony will be the first one to raise the prices after Nintendo. It's actually Microsoft. So maybe I have to start just taking an opposite approach here. And RU46 N2 Ray comes in and drops another 5-bomb on you guys. He's keeping the member train going here. He wants to see how far we can take it. And so just like that, we have 10 members gifted. Ray, thank you so much. Corey, here's your soundbite.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
Just looking at Boss's stoic face every time I play that. And Ray, I'll give you an Astrobot here. I think it's an Astro. Well, it's like a PS1 startup and Astrobot combination. Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Hellbound, 1981. Another legend. Feels so weird repeating what I just said. But another legend coming in, dropping 5 more memberships. Rookie move. Absolutely. I didn't even get to read Wabu Dude's super chats yet. You guys are like, no, we got to do members first. So 15 members gifted already. Love to see it. Thank you guys so much for that. We'll see if we can hit that goal, man. We're definitely on track. And I know Boss is looking forward to it. So let me make sure I read these super chats, though. Don't want to keep you guys waiting too long there. So, Wabu Dude. You see, he's got like 4 parts here. So, Wabu Dude says, I'm skeptical that this will happen, but I want to put it out there. Sony should avoid raising the prices of their games or consoles. Right now, they have a major opportunity to dominate the console market and establish themselves as the top choice for casual gamers. By absorbing the cost of hardware and game development in the short term, they could reap long-term benefits through increased market share and customer loyalty. As I said, it's unlikely they'll take this route, But if they do raise prices, it could be a significant missed opportunity. Wabu dude, first off, I appreciate the super chats, man. And yeah, I have to say I agree with your your stance here. I think that Sony would be wise when talking about potential long-term gains and reaping those long-term benefits. Sony would be wise, I think, to just stay where they are and not rock the boat anymore. I don't think anybody would fault them for doing that. In fact, I think everybody's expecting that. The amount of posts that I saw yesterday of people saying, hey, if you're thinking about buying a PS5 or especially a PS5 Pro, you should do it very soon because you probably don't have long until Sony raises the prices as well. But there is kind of this idea where, yeah, if they're willing to absorb some cost, which is not usual anymore, right? Like you think about the way Sony would operate during like the PS3 generation, where they were eating the cost of the PS3. Um, I mean, to a significant degree, where they were losing, I think, billions of dollars. They wouldn't do something like that again. But, you know, you do have to wonder if maybe there's just some area they're willing to take a slight loss to, again, reap those long term benefits. Considering the position that Sony's in right now, where they're not really feeling negative effects necessarily, right? The PS5 still doing well. Their games are still selling well. Their platform, arguably, and this is the important part, the PlayStation platform is arguably stronger than it's ever been, not just due to their own games, but mainly third-party games, and now even their rival Microsoft putting their games on their platform. And so, unfortunately, Wabu dude, as much as I agree with what you're saying here, and I do think that this would be a very smart move to help kind of grow and kind of break through a potential barrier that is being set up currently, I don't think they're going to do that. It's Sony. Like I said, man, they're not where they were during the PS3 days and the early PS4 days, where their back isn't against the wall. They're more comfortable than they ever have been. Doesn't mean they're necessarily getting complacent, but it just means that, if they feel as though they can raise the prices and keep a steady pace and keep things consistent, they'll probably do that. Yeah, I don't think hardware manufacturers are going to eat the cost of hardware anymore. Um, one of the reasons they were also willing to do this, and I'll throw this out here before reading the remaining super chats, is that, and you see people talking about this right now, they're like, bro, I thought that as we go further into a console generation, these consoles were supposed to get cheaper, not more expensive. And yeah, that's the way it's always been, because what these manufacturers would kind of bank on is we can eat the cost a little bit upfront because it will get cheaper to manufacture these machines as the years go by and as we go further into the generation. And, we'll be able to kind of settle on a cheaper price point, but one that also we won't be selling at as much of a loss anymore either. And that's because they would be able to put different components, more, smaller components, more efficient components, all that stuff into, into the slimmer versions and the more updated versions of their consoles. That's just not happening anymore because we've kind of reached a ceiling where like component prices are not getting cheaper. They're not going down. And it's not that things can't shrink. It's just that, they're not shrinking at the rate that they used to. So, it's a bit complicated, but yeah, it seems like those days are over, unfortunately. And I think that's another reason why you're just not going to see Sony kind of come out and be like, you know what, we're not going to raise the prices. I'm not convinced that they'll do it immediately. I think they might try to hold off as long as they can, but we're going to find out, man. We're going to find out very soon. Things are always the same till they're not. That's very true. Very true. But again, Wabu dude, thank you for the back-to-back super chats, man. And we have JMR 77 with a $2 chat saying Expedition 33 is a certified banger. Support these devs. Yeah, hey, it's still my game of the year, and I'm rooting for it now. I was under the assumption that GTA 6 was coming out this year, and GTA 6 automatically is game of the year, right? now that GTA 6 is delayed till next year, I think when I say they, I think I'm referring to pretty much every other game that's not GTA 6 that's good has a chance of being a game of the year contender. And I think of Expedition 33. I would have assumed that Expedition 33, it's like, I think that'll be many people's game of the year, but if it's not going to win out against GTA 6. Now I think it has a real chance. And that's only because I don't think anything could beat GTA 6 for game of the year. But I agree with you, JMR. Boss, don't fall over, man. Oh my God, what? He's acting weird with that silver vine, dude. Let's see. We also have Sean Mitchell with a super chat. And he says GTA 6 being delayed would be horrible news if 2025 wasn't stacked. If you love gaming, you have plenty to tide you over this year. DS2 for Game of the Year now. Come on, Kojima. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like now Death Stranding 2 doesn't have to go up against GTA 6. So, yeah, Death Stranding 2 could end up being Game of the Year. That would be awesome. It would be awesome. I think there's a good chance that Death Stranding 2 could end up being my game of the year. I will admit that Expedition 33 was quite a surprise, though. Like, I don't doubt that Death Stranding 2 could win me over more so than Expedition 33, but Expedition 33 will have that kind of surprise factor going for it with me, where it's just like, there's no better feeling than just kind of being blindsided by a game where you're like, okay, I just played a game of the year contender. I mean, honestly, I feel like Expedition 33, I know this may sound crazy to some people, but that may go down as being like one of the games of the generation, dude. It's that good. So, be honest, you wouldn't have played Expedition 33 if you didn't get a code. I will be honest in saying that it would not have been a priority. No. I was paying attention to Expedition 33, but considering when it came out, I also basically decided like, well, even though this is a game I would like to try and I am considering playing, it's going to have to go on the back burner for now. But yeah, getting that opportunity to get out ahead and play it early, I won't lie. I'm very glad. Like, the stars kind of aligned. I'm glad I got that opportunity because, yeah, I would have been sitting here looking at the way people are talking about this game being like, okay, well, I have to play this now, Sean, thank you for the super chat, buddy. We have, let's see here, Lux with a super chat saying, might as well hold it off until the PlayStation 6. A 30 FPS game, 30 FPS only game in 2026 is just ass. Must be a struggle to get it running on current gen. Melted PS5's incoming. Could you imagine that? It's like Sony goes through a red ring of death situation, except it's not even their fault. It's literally Rockstar's fault, where it's like, okay, guys, it turns out GTA 6 is melting PS5s. What do we do? That would be a wild situation. I am starting to think that GTA 6, well, I think I've kind of settled on this a while ago. GTA 6 is going to be a 30 FPS game on the current gen consoles. And that's one of the things that people are talking about. They're like, bro, we're going to get GTA 6 1 year before the next gen consoles, because as of right now, unless there's something that changes, it seems like the next gen consoles are, interestingly enough, it seems like they both may end up targeting 2027. The original rumor was next gen Xbox 2026, next gen PlayStation 2028. Now we're hearing that they both may be aligning for 2027. So, yeah, I would imagine that, the PlayStation 6 version and the next gen Xbox version of GTA 6 are immediately going to begin work as soon as it comes out. The idea of them holding off, though, I'll tell you right now, Lux, the reason why they're not going to do that and why I think they're also completely okay, delaying it by another year for it, even if it's just for polish and to avoid crunch. And there's like no rush basically, is because the longer they wait, the larger the install base they have to sell to, Yeah. And then plus the double dipping, right? It's both of those things. If you look at it from like a business perspective and the perspective of like, this is going to be the biggest media launch in the history of anything, which is, I'm seeing the way people are kind of freaking out about this delay. And it's like, I just, you could tell like there's still people who don't quite understand like what's going to happen when this game launches. And I'm not trying to like blow smoke. It's just I think it's kind of obvious, like GTA is going to make a lot of big publishers and a lot of big developers very depressed when it launches, and a lot of corporations envious of the amount of money that they're just about to scoop up. And so them just being like, you know what, let's just take our time. No reason to rush it. By the time it launches this time next year, there's going to be even more PlayStations out on the market, even more Xboxes. Well, I mean, it's hard to talk from the Xbox perspective because they just got a massive price increase for their hardware, but there will still be more on the market nonetheless. We have Chad A, a member for 17 months. He says, Sony can capitalize on developers that make games like Expedition 33 and find ways to cut development fat, keep game costs and dev costs. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my studio crashed again. Chad A. Cut me off mid-read. Saying keep game costs and dev costs equals higher profits. I think he would say like keeping them down while extracting greater profits. Yeah, I've been talking about Expedition 33 for a little bit now, saying that I think that Shuhei Yoshida was right. Shuhei Yoshida said that this game is going to inspire developers and it's going to make them realize that they can still achieve big things with a smaller team and an overall smaller budget, that it doesn't necessarily have to be like bigger equals better every time, right? And I do think that when you consider the fact that, you look around what's going on in the games industry right now, the games industry is obviously being affected by economic realities, but the games industry is also facing some of its own unique problems. This, I think, is one of them where it's like there is this expectation for games to be bigger and to be better and to just constantly improve. And it seems like there's this belief that has been widely accepted that that can only happen with more money and more manpower and more resource. Now, maybe time is the thing that you're always going to need more of to achieve these things. But yeah, I do think there is truth to this. I think that Sony, as well as many other AAA publishers, are going to have to look at Expedition 33 and kind of come to the conclusion that we may not be able to replicate that exactly, but we need to try to work towards that. Becoming leaner, more efficient, kind of like you're saying here. I know that trimming the fat sounds a bit harsh in some instances when you're talking about like people's jobs and whatnot, but there is a level of like, look, man, a AAA game may take 5 to 6 years no matter what, but does it have to reach a $300 million budget? Does it have to be that expensive? Does it, like, do you need 300 people or even 250 people working on this AAA game? Like, do you actually need that? And I think these are the questions that are already being asked right now. And we'll see. We will see. Lux, you're saying even if Xbox announced lower prices, they're still dead. I mean, yeah, that's the alternative here, right? When we were talking about the price increases for Xbox yesterday, if they came out and were like, we're actually lowering the price of the Series X and we're lowering the price of the Series S, I don't think it would have done much. I mean, people would be cheering and be like, great, that's great news. At a time when everybody's increasing prices, you're lowering prices, but yeah, dude, like, not only would that mean that any sale they get for an Xbox Series S or a Series X, they're going to have to eat a certain cost on that, lowering a price at a time like this. But the more important thing is like, well, like, is that going to suddenly sell millions upon millions more of Xboxes? Probably not. So I think Microsoft is just taking the honestly, and it's not me like justifying their price increase. I'm just saying from a business perspective, they're making the most logical choice here where they're like, okay, if we're going to get the lowest amount of console sales we've ever gotten, at the very least, we could try to make money off on them. At the very least. And I've been seeing people, they were saying yesterday, they're like, hey, we're having trouble selling consoles. What should we do? Raise the prices. And I'm like, I don't know that makes a difference at this point. And Corey the Legend Landiga comes in and drops the 10 bomb on you guys. Corey, I think Boss recognizes your name at this point, man. I saw his head kind of jolt up when I said your name there. Comes in, drops 10 membership gifts, gets us to 25 members. He crushes the goal. Corey did the heavy lift here, and he knows I appreciate it.
Holy shit.
We're gonna give Boss some of his treats now. I know he's gonna be hyped for that. Because I'm still giving him the catnip-infused treats. He woke me up in the middle of the night. Him and Luna, and I don't know if it was Leia too, but they were messing around over here, knocking shit down, rummaging, and I woke up and, they all scattered, clearly scared because they got caught. And yeah, the bag of treats was on the ground, the whole container was on the ground, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, guys. But here we go. Boss, it's time.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
Go, bro. Enjoy. Oh, hold on. Luna's in here too. She wants some. I'll give her a couple. Snacky cakes now. All right. Thank you guys so much for the member gifts, by the way. Really, really appreciate that. Anybody who's dropping super chats, membership gifts, direct donations, all that stuff, I'm only able to do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So thank you. Do I think Game Pass will go up in price at some point? We're actually going to cover that today. I do have that in the title. There is, there is a rumor right now that that's the next price increase that's coming. And the reason why I want to cover it is not because it's surprising, but because I think it answers a question that I was kind of asking yesterday, which is like, is this price increase a move to potentially bolster the perceived value of Game Pass? And I did see people talking about that, but then it's like, well, not for long, because apparently that's the next in line, which wouldn't shock me. Because I'm like, yeah, man, I think Microsoft's just in the business of making more money now. I think the days of them trying to give you the best value, I don't think that takes priority over just we want to try to keep it as fair as we can, but we want to make money. It's time we got to start making money at a more rapid rate. We have Anime for Entertainment with the super chat who says, I hope Sony is more at ease now doing a showcase since GTA 6 has been delayed. Well, I do want to tell you that one of the things Rockstar said in their announcement, which, by the way, the Rockstar Games Twitter account still has not updated their pinned comment or their banner where it says GTA 6 coming 2025. I would have assumed that they would have immediately updated that with the announcement of a delay. But their announcement for the delay already has 38 million views on Twitter, which is nuts. But they say here, we look forward to sharing more information with you soon. So, obviously that could mean anything, but considering the timing of it, I'm really starting to wonder if we are going to get that trailer too. And again, there's been speculation for literally years that Sony has the marketing rights to GTA 6. And, I'm not going to be the guy to sit here and tell you, get hype. We're going to get that PlayStation showcase, and we're going to get that GTA 6 trailer number 2 at that showcase. I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen. But, I'm just going to float the idea out there. That's all. I'm just going to float it out there like any other idea. Maybe. Could they? I was going to be talking in depth about a Sony showcase today, but obviously the news of GTA 6 getting delayed came out. So I'm probably going to save that discussion for Sunday, or if we talk about it today, we'll have a more in-depth, extended discussion on Sunday. But yeah, man, I would love for Sony to do a showcase. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know. We really don't know how much of an impact. We're gonna find out in a couple weeks, though. In the weeks ahead, we're gonna find out the type of impact that this announcement has on game announcements, and specifically announcements for release dates. I think we're gonna see a flood of games being announced that they're ready to launch October, November, which, I'm sure multiple publishers today we're breathing a sigh of relief. I saw people saying this in my comment section that, damn, dude, we can we can comfortably announce our game for September, October, November now. And if you were to go look at the list of games that have September, October, November, especially October, November, it's barren. It's relatively barren. There's really not many games. An unusual thing considering we're already in May. We certainly would have had more games announced to be launching at the end of this year. And so now they're, right before Summer Game Fest, right before the Xbox Showcase, right before whatever show Sony may or may not do, among others. This is the time, right? So I guess you could say it was somewhat kind. I want to talk about that for a moment. Did Rockstar do the industry a bit of a favor here by announcing this delay so early? Because I have seen people saying, like, bro, why are they giving us the date and it's over a year? It's like 13 months from now, practically. Like, why are they giving us this date now? Like, and I'm like, yeah, they didn't have to do that. Like, they didn't have to give the date, basically, is what I'm trying to say. They could have just announced that it's delayed. And I think the fact that they did, and they did it right now, like they didn't wait till July or August or September to announce the delay. They just did it now. It's like, we're just going to give you a whole nother year. I think that actually is good for the games industry because it means that, yeah, like not people, but the people who are in charge of the publishers and making these decisions and these developers, they don't have to keep holding their breath. Now they know. So if you're caught in the crosshair, of the May 26th release date for GTA 6, that's on you because we have 13 months now, to prepare. You think I'm overthinking it? Jason Schreier says because of crunch avoidance. Yeah, I did see that. We'll go over what he said there, which is interesting because I guess it makes you kind of wonder like why they would announce a 2025 date anyway, but it seems like Rockstar is very adamant about avoiding crunch, which they've been accused of having like severe crunch cycles in the past. Buck with a super chat says Sony financials and their guidance will be fascinating. MBG, massive tariffs, 15 million PS5 sales delayed to next fiscal year, and the possibility that Marathon could bomb. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm always interested in, checking out Sony's earnings and financials and just kind of checking up on the health of not necessarily Sony as a whole. I mean, I'm always interested in how the conglomerate is doing, but specifically their gaming division with PlayStation, I'm always interested to know, like, what's it looking like? What's the trajectory? What are the predictions? Are things falling apart like many people predicted they would or still will? But this upcoming earnings report on May 14th, it's the closing of their fiscal year, and they're going to be doing their more extended update for investors, like an investor presentation as well. This one's going to be really, really, really interesting because I don't think Sony can really stay as quiet as they have. There are just too many things in motion right now, too many things that are not, it's not even like the implication, it's just they're actually affecting PlayStation right now. They're affecting gaming right now that Sony's going to have to, they're going to have to talk and they're going to have to reveal some kind of plan and they're going to have to, at the very least, hint at some of the things that they're thinking about doing. If they still are just very like kind of quiet about it and playing it close to the chest, I'll be very confused because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that's a bit dangerous given that, yeah, it's kind of like what you're saying, like the guidance right now, like the roadmap of any kind, not even just for like the gamers and the customers of like a showcase or here's what's coming, but even just from a business perspective, like we see what Nintendo's doing. Microsoft just announced what they're doing. Sony, you're up. You're up. And yeah, I'm going to be paying very close attention because I do believe it's going to be quite telling. Illegal Monkey with a super chat says, did you see the Code Violet gameplay? The protagonist makes Stellar Blade Eve look like a prepubescent girl. LOL. No, I saw this. That's interesting though. I didn't realize that because I didn't watch the trailer. I saw it on the PlayStation YouTube channel. Uh-oh. Does it look good though? Does it look as good as Stellar Blade? That's crazy though. That's crazy what you're saying about the protagonist. Now, hold on. Now I gotta check. Code Violet. It's for research purposes. Just because that's a. Wait, is this? Hold on. Is this a dinosaur game? No. Hold on. I typed in the wrong thing. Right? I'm very confused right now. Hold on. I might be looking at the wrong game. Because if I'm looking at the right game, I don't know that I agree with your description. Oh, I was 20 minutes of gameplay. I'm looking at some of the gameplay right now. I'm Illegal Monkey, you have me confused. Oh, you're saying the textures look good, but it's a bit choppy. Dino Crisis ripoff. I mean, yeah, you could tell they definitely tried to make the protagonist like. I don't agree with that though. I don't agree with that assessment, Illegal Monkey. They definitely went with a more curvy protagonist here, female protagonist, but I don't think it's a step above what Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade was pretty especially with some of like the unlockable outfits. I mean, it's pretty. Illegal Monkey's like, there's parts where you can see more. She's thick. I see. All right, Illegal Monkey. I bit off topic here, but I do appreciate you informing me. I will say though, I didn't realize when I saw the trailer. I guess I just didn't look close enough at the thumbnail that this is like kind of like a Dino Crisis game. Like the top comment says, Capcom still hasn't realized the need for a Dino Crisis remake. I'm glad this alternative exists. Okay, bro, there's no way this is a top comment. Illegal Monkey, I know this person's name is not Illegal Monkey, but I feel like you're the one who left it on an alternate account. This guy says, and this is by far the most upvoted comment, I'm just worried the clapping of her cheeks will make stealth impossible. There's a part of me that wishes I would have just naturally, organically. I wish I would have just organically clicked on this trailer, had no idea what this game even was, and just went to the comments and read that comment with no context. All right. Code Violet came for the gameplay, stayed for the cake. That's a comment I read. I didn't make that statement on my own. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying that's the second most upvoted comment. Anyway, what were we talking about? We have Kane Z7 with the super chat, and he says, shit prediction 69. Okay, what's happening? Is the new 1 week hype game the true no one is talking about real good games like Atelier, I don't know how to say that, Yumiya, and the real game of the year contender? Stop being sheeps, guys. Kane Z7, I'm very. You left me very confused. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure what I just read. But I do appreciate the super chat, man. Bro, we know it was you. And we have Delwyn Jones with a super chat. Delwyn says, honestly, I see this only as a positive. Let them work on it being better, but more importantly, 2025 already has an awesome lineup of bangers. So I'm glad they'll get a chance to shine without GTA 6 clouding over them. Yeah, I'm in agreement with this. I want to have this conversation in a little bit about some of the negative takes that I've been seeing, and there's definitely some interesting ones that I've been reading. But I'm in agreement with this, Delwyn, that it does, I feel like, allow many other games that have come out but are also, more importantly, getting ready to come out in the coming months and towards the end of this year. It gives them much more breathing room, and there's not just this kind of shadow looming, right? Never, just not knowing like when's it going to drop. The real question is, what is this going to do to 2026's games lineup? Now, again, this is where I feel like it ultimately is a good thing that there is a release date now, and there's always the possibility it could get delayed further. I do want to acknowledge that it's not a guarantee that they're going to nail um, that May 26th release for next year. It could still get delayed. Considering they're giving it over a year, though, I'm going to say they're pretty sure. I'm going to say that they went with a date that they were positive they're going to be able to hit. But then again, what we're seeing with GTA's development cycle is kind of unprecedented for a game of this scope and scale and how much money's went into it. So anything's possible. But we do have to start to ask the question as we get closer to 2026, knowing that GTA 6 is still looming, just much further out in the distance. I mean, how many publishers were like, oh, damn, we did have, like, what about Saros, right? Saros is a 2026 game. Was that targeting May? And now they're like, well, damn it. Either way, though, there is that breathing room. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Should we be upset about this GTA 6 delay? And I've been seeing some strange takes from people, to say the least. Kendall Fire 22 and Delwyn, thank you for the super chat. Kendall Fire with the super chat says, pretty weird that Sony has a random state of play for Borderlands, but that's because they have GTA 6 marketing package deal, like Forspoken marketing with FF16. I was thinking about that as well. Yeah, and multiple people did point that out. They're like, this Borderlands state of play feels kind of random. And we saw Sony do the exact same thing with not just Square Enix with Forspoken and Final Fantasy, but with games like Kill the Justice League and Hogwarts, which were both WB games. So it seems like Sony does kind of strike these marketing deals, and they're like package deals. And yeah, Borderlands is a huge game as well. So I didn't tune into that. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm glad I didn't, just because I did catch glimpses of it, and I'm like, yeah, they're talking to the Borderlands audience, and that's not me. So I would have just been like, I don't know how to react to what they're saying or what I'm seeing. But from what I gathered after the fact, it seems like it went pretty well. People were very happy with what was shown, and a lot of people are stoked for Borderlands dropping this September. And again, yeah, one of the things that I learned with the announcement of that Borderlands State of Play is that apparently Borderlands has sold like 77 million units as a franchise, which I knew Borderlands was successful. I just had no inclination that it was even remotely that successful. So it's a huge franchise. And I guess that, it helps it make a lot more sense as to why Sony would dedicate a State of Play to something like that. And yeah, it seems like it's going to sell really well on PS5. But for me, it was the timing of it. I did highlight the fact a couple days ago. I'm like, they're doing this State of Play. It's 20 minutes. They're doing it on the last day of April. And to me, I think that's intentional because there's going to be something else coming in May. Could come in June, but the way Sony's been doing it for a while now is May. May is the time when they like to, that's usually when they like to do some kind of show. the 3rd or 4th week of May. So, it's only May 2nd, but what I'll add to that is we should be getting some rumors. The rumor mill should be ramping up specifically from people who, not that there's many, but people who I would say are considered credible sources. I'm thinking of Jeff Grubb, honestly. I'm assuming like we're going to hear something soon. Or maybe like Tom Henderson. Somebody's going to come out and be like, "Well, you think it's not coming?" Um well, I will say this. There's no chance Sony doesn't do anything. That's just not, I don't say it's not possible, but it's just that's not likely at all because Sony, at the very least, like, you don't have to like stated plays, but stated plays have been extremely consistent. The way Sony's handled it for a few years now is they do a stated play like once every quarter or like 3 times a year. And you can usually bank on, once in January or February, then again in May or June, and then again in like September or October. That's basically how they've done it. So I think they are going to be doing a show in May. I think it makes complete sense. I think just the real question is, will it be a stated play or will it be a showcase? And last we heard, even Sony themselves isn't sure. So, sounds like they got some anxiety themselves about, like, is this good enough to call a showcase? Are we going to have a bad showcase if we call it a showcase? You feel like you're going blind? Wait, hold on. Is my lighting too bright? Do I need to bring in the natural lighting? Titus, I want to make sure I'm not like blinding people here. I mean, yeah, there is Summer Game Fest happening, I think, on June 6th. So Sony might show up there too. They usually like to give Jeff Keighley a little something. You're saying you're watching on your 55-inch TV. It looks soft as hell. Well, I don't like that description. It's Beast Mode. A member for 5 months says, got my Ghost of Yote pre-order today. Interested to see if they drop a DualSense for the game. At this point, they kind of have to, right? I would assume they would. Yeah. I mean, they've been pretty consistent with their DualSense drops. I mean, for God's sake, if they can drop a Last of Us DualSense for another remake or remaster, right? Like, you got to get that Ghost of Yote DualSense. They did one for Astro. They did one for Concord. They did one for Spider-Man. So I would assume that they're going to do, I'm wondering if they're going to do anything for Death Stranding too. I remember when Death Stranding dropped, they did limited edition PS4, which came with a limited edition DualShock 4. It looked really cool. But Beast Mode, I'm glad to hear you got your pre-order for Ghost of Yote. I kind of forgot that they were going live today. Let's talk about some of the negative reactions regarding the GTA 6 delay. Now, when I say negative reactions, I'm not talking about people just acting like, oh, it's disappointing and that's, it's annoying. We're going to have to wait a whole year. Just some, well, really there's one thing that comes to mind here that I came across, and it was on my video today. And it was just a little bit surprising to see this, where it's like, I guess I'm not surprised that people have this opinion. It's just not what I would expect to come across on a news video talking about GTA 6 being delayed. So there was this comment that somebody left. And this was on a 3-minute video that I put out earlier today, where all I did was just drop the news. It was 3 minutes. I was just telling you guys that GTA 6 is delayed, talking about it for just a minute. And this person says, if Naughty Dog took 13 years to make a game, you simpletons would go nuclear. I have to admit, it made me chuckle a little bit, like simpletons. Okay, nuclear. I love the understanding and double standard for Rockstar. And this comment kind of bothered me a little bit because it's like, why, like, why are you in here talking about Naughty Dog? You know, like, what does that have to do with the conversation? But then I thought, well, okay, well, it's true that we've talked extensively on the channel about Naughty Dog. Not necessarily in conjunction with GTA or Rockstar, but we have had extended conversations about Naughty Dog, and we've been hypercritical of their output, right? We've been hypercritical of their output this generation and the sluggishness of the studio. And so I tried to like keep that in mind, and I had to reply to this guy. And there was like one major thing that this comment left out where I'm like, there are numerous reasons why I'm annoyed by this comment. But the biggest is that, bro, you're forgetting that Rockstar dropped Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2018. And I know that people talk about like, well, we had to wait 13 years, or we're waiting 13 years for another GTA. But you cannot ignore a massive game drop like Red Dead Redemption 2 and make it seem like Rockstar hasn't produced anything in that 13 years. Actually, the reality is that in between that 13 years, they dropped one of the greatest video games ever created across the board that most developers still have yet to even attempt to match. And I just had to be candid with this individual and let them know, like, you're making a mistake trying to compare Naughty Dog to Rockstar. They don't make the same video games, even remotely. I'm going to just lay it out here. And I say this as somebody who The Last of Us 1 is one of my favorite games of all time. And I think Naughty Dog is one of the most talented studios in the industry. Naughty Dog cannot make games on the same level that Rockstar does. Period. End of discussion. That's not what they do. Nobody can make games on the level that Rockstar does. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up Rockstar's ass. It's just, bro, play Red Dead Redemption 2 and tell me what developer has ever created anything close to that. And by the time GTA 6 comes out, that's going to be years removed. And again, I'm just saying this because it's like, bro, if we were sitting here and The Last of Us multiplayer did release, if The Last of Us multiplayer did release, or if there was some kind of just secondary single player game that Naughty Dog had, I know that people complain about Rockstar where like they milk GTA Online, and yes, they have. They have. I'm not going to pretend they haven't. I'm not trying to say Rockstar's perfect. They're not. I'm just simply trying to say, like, bro, the criticism that we throw at Naughty Dog it's there for very different reasons than the criticism that people throw at Rockstar. And to try to just like bunch them up together and basically say they're the same, I think is disingenuous. I think it's just inaccurate, and it's disingenuous, where it's like there are things you can criticize about Rockstar and there are things you should criticize about Rockstar. No publisher, no developer is perfect, no matter how good they are. But the things that we criticize Naughty Dog for are very different than the things we criticize Rockstar for. Although there is one similarity, actually, but just in opposite boats here. One of the biggest criticisms that Rockstar got was the cancellation of GTA 5 single-player DLC. And people lost their minds over that, and that was because of the success of GTA Online. Hold on. Sorry about that. Luna knocked something down in the other room, and I just had to make sure everything was good. But, one of the biggest criticisms that Naughty Dog has gotten this gen is they haven't released anything new. And the one thing that was going to be new that they were going to launch was the Last of Us Online. And so it's kind of like opposite boats here, like I said. But I'm not a Naughty Dog hater. I know people think I am. I'm not. I'm just not a Naughty Dog glazer either. Like, fucking hate that word, but I'm not. Like, I accept that for me, the way Naughty Dog has released games or some of what Naughty Dog has done is just not, I don't like it as much as other people. And in my opinion, it's not like it's not like the next game from Naughty Dog, Intergalactic, is going to be some kind of revolutionary open world game experience that's doing things that no other video game has ever achieved. That's not what they're developing. I'm not saying that's what they need to develop, but that's kind of what I'm trying to highlight here when I say you can't compare Naughty Dog to Rockstar, because that's what Rockstar is developing. And if you kind of scan the industry and try to think, well, how many other developers are making games that are trying to do that? There's really not, I can't think of any. I mean, you think of like maybe CD Projekt Red in some instances, but even then it's like, it's no offense to them, but it's just like, I don't think that they reach that same level that Naughty Dog has. I just don't know that there's any developer doing what Rockstar's doing right now and what they did, even with something like Red Dead 2 and even GTA 5. I mean, GTA 5 is an older game now, but still, like, how many games have truly replicated that level of detail? I don't think many. So I just don't think that it's fair to make it seem like there's a double standard here, because a double standard implies that these two studios are on equal footing or like on equal ground, and they're not. And, to be fair, and Kane, I see your super chats, man. I just want to make sure I get this, little rant done. To be fair, there are too many comparisons that people attempt to make between too many things that just, they don't make any sense. The only thing I think we can safely say is that when you think of some of the top developers in the industry, people often think of these two studios. And I think that's fair. Like when people think of top developers, they think, oh, Rockstar, and maybe throw Naughty Dog in there. It doesn't mean they're the same, though. It doesn't mean I think it means they're both kind of like experts of their craft, but their craft have some major, major differences that if you don't acknowledge, you are trying to make it sound like apples to oranges is apples to apples. That's my opinion of it anyway. So I just thought that was a bizarre comment. And just not something I was expecting to come across, where it's like, damn, dude, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be upset that you have to wait a whole nother year for GTA 6, but I'm just saying, like, what has Naughty Dog done to earn that type of grace? They've canceled a multiplayer game that we were all looking forward to. They remastered and remade The Last of Us 1 and 2 multiple times. And the new game that they announced, they haven't shown. Now, granted, that is true for GTA 6 as well. They haven't really shown much of, and we're still kind of in the dark. But I don't know. Something also tells me that person maybe that person wasn't even talking to me, because I'm not sure that they heard me when I've expressed my interest and excitement for Intergalactic as well. So I don't know. I just thought that was a strange, a strange reaction, and I was confused to see that comment have so many upvotes, where it's like, I didn't realize it was Rockstar versus Naughty Dog around here. All right, we have Kane Z7. You're saying here, you got two super chats back to back. You're saying, also, jokes aside, they put up Ghost of Yote pre-orders today. Here in Brazil was a little earlier than in the US. Here they are charging 400 BRL. That's equivalent to $80. We hear, though, it was going to be $80 for the US, but it wasn't. $70 games arrive here at 350 BRL. And so the price increases, they're only here. Sony must have frozen the prices over there because of Microsoft yesterday. So if I'm Kane, if I'm reading your super chat correctly, are you saying that Ghost of Yote is the first $80 US dollar equivalent game that Sony's released in Brazil? It's either that or you're basically saying that Sony's willing to increase the prices, or they have increased the prices in other regions so that way they can kind of ensure they don't have to raise the prices in the US, which is their most important market. So it's one of those two things. Either way, yeah, I think that is something that Sony is trying to avoid. And I know people get annoyed by this because they're like, so other regions have to kind of like deal with higher prices to make sure that, the price for Americans can stay the same. And I know that that's annoying, but it's one of those things where I think it's just as long as the US, and I'm not saying this is like America's the best country. Like, no, I know I'm an American saying this, but it doesn't. I just think as long as the USA is this valuable of a market to some of these corporations and companies, you can kind of understand why they're doing that. But, when you look at what's happening with the economic realities in America, that might change. That might change, dude. So we'll see. We'll see how long Sony tries to hold off. But Kane, I do appreciate the super chats, man. Good stuff, bro. Red Dead Redemption 3 might be 2035 at this rate. But you can't deny it'll be worth it, right? Delwyn Jones with the super chat. Thank you, Delwyn. He says, snagged my standard physical disc pre-order for Ghost of Yote. All set. Sony/PlayStation and Sucker Punch know why this is going to be perfect since when it drops October 2nd. Can't bloody wait to play it. I'm stoked for Ghost of Yote too, man. I want to go for a physical version of that game. I know that there's a lot of concern right now about physical games and what's going to happen now. And Perfect Image, thank you for letting me know, man. I'll look at that in just a moment. And I'm a little worried about it, but as long as these games I'm looking forward to are getting physical versions, I want to try to keep buying them and supporting them. And nobody really knows what's going to happen next for physical games, at least when it comes to PlayStation, but I'll try to support as much as I can. And yeah, dude, I'm counting down the days for Ghost of Yote. It's hard for me to think too much about Ghost of Yote only because I know Death Stranding 2 comes before it. So when I think about upcoming PlayStation games that I'm excited for, Death Stranding 2 is the first one that pops in my mind, and then Ghost of Yote, that's going to be closer. Unless Sony has something else up their sleeve that we don't know about. But yeah, Delwyn, I always appreciate your enthusiasm, man. It's always a breath of fresh air, There are a lot of people who I think are very doomish, myself included, and I don't mean doom the game, but, doomish towards PlayStation. And it is always kind of refreshing to see excitement because, they're trying times right now, man. I didn't pre-order Ghost yet, no, but I probably should, just in case. I mean, I don't know, at least when it comes to physical versions, right? We've been seeing physical versions of games selling out, so it's like, if I want it physically, I probably should pre-order it. And Lux says, PlayStation Studios win more awards than Rockstar. Sony's priority. That's true. Yeah, that's true. I don't know that everybody, are there people who think Naughty Dog is a better studio than Rockstar? Yeah, and I'm not here to tell them they're not. I'm just giving my opinion. But, when I'm harsh on Naughty Dog, I'm harsh on Naughty Dog for... I'll put it to you this way. When I look at an upcoming game like Intergalactic, I do not feel even remotely the same way about that game that I do towards GTA 6. Not even remotely. And to me, that is That's all that I need. That's there it is. That's all it is. Doesn't mean I'm not excited for Intergalactic, or it's not that I don't think that game's going to be anything less than amazing, assuming that the story's good as well. I know for a fact Naughty Dog's going to make a damn good game. Damn good. They always make good games, just objectively, like from just a, you know, just a game design and development point of view. They always make great games. That's why I always push back against people who like, they're like, "Oh, The Last of Us Part 2 is just trash, bro." And I'm like, "Okay, let's get the exaggeration out of the way. It's a great video game that if you feel that strongly about it, you probably hate the story. But something tells me if you were to look at it from a more objective standpoint, you'd be able to appreciate like, wow, okay, the attention to detail and the level of skill on display here is very high." But with that being said, when I think of GTA 6 and what that game's going to offer and what that game's going to do, and then I think about Intergalactic, or even if I think about The Last of Us Part 3, my feelings couldn't be further apart in a sense, you know? Don't go there again, Lux. We're not going there again. Saying, well, it's a new IP, no shit, GTA 6 is a sequel. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, and I didn't mean it in that sense. I guess I just mean it from like, all right, maybe here's a better explanation. My expectation for Rockstar with GTA 6 is that when I pick up the controller after installing that game and I spend 5 to 6 hours with it, I'm going to walk away from it being like, well, I think most other video games might be kind of ruined for me now. Maybe that's a bit too much. At the very least, I walk away being like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never played anything even remotely like this in terms of like just the sheer technological leap of like, look at this world, bro. Like, look at it, right? Look at what they're doing. And I know that sounds like I'm overhyping it, but that's the thing, man. You take a 13-year development, because I can tell you one thing. If Naughty Dog was making a game on this level that did take them 13 years, that's exactly what my expectation would be. That's exactly what it'd be. I'd be like, any game that takes 13 or 14, who knows? Maybe it'll get delayed again. It takes 14 years. Any game that takes over a decade to make, my expectations for it are going to be unreasonably high. And I think most other people's will be too. That's not what Naughty Dog's doing. Naughty Dog, we're looking at a 7-year or 6-year development cycle potentially for Intergalactic. 6 to 7 years. And that's also pretty long. But I don't know. I don't imagine that when I play Intergalactic, I'm going to walk away being like, holy shit, I've never played anything like this in my life. I mean, this is truly like, I'm going to walk away from it being like, this is quite literally the greatest video game I've ever experienced, ever. And nothing even comes close. I don't see that for Intergalactic. And I'm not saying it needs to be that. I'm not saying Naughty Dog needs to chase that dragon. I'm just saying, like, that's not what I see. What I see is me walking away being like, that's a Naughty Dog video game right there. High quality, attention to detail, doing things that other games have done, but with great refinement and maybe a couple of little twists here and there, and doing it very well. But also kind of adding that Naughty Dog touch of just look at that graphical fidelity, look at that motion capture, right? Look at that facial technology, that facial capture technology, stuff like that. I imagine that's what I'll walk away with. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's also the fact that when I think of Intergalactic, they say one of the themes of that game is going to be loneliness. To where it's like, that's the opposite of what GTA 6 is, right? GTA 6 is like, here's the craziest living, breathing video game world ever created. that's almost indistinguishable from real life. That, like, they couldn't, basically, even when you look at the type of games they're making, they're polar opposites. So, not many, Lux. No, not many. Can't say I can even think of one. Can't say I can even think of one. We do have a report for Naughty Dog. But I don't know if might want to save it for Sunday. You're a true gamer, MBG, hoping the best for Intergalactic, even though every sign points to it being another agenda-driven story by Druckmann. I mean, like I said, I have my reservations. I do have some nervousness, but I try to have some good faith here, where it's like, I think it's unfair to, like, listen, this isn't in defense of Neil Druckmann, but I guess it kind of is, right? Like, I'm not trying to be like because there are people that are like Naughty Dog or Neil Druckmann, or it's not exclusive to Naughty Dog or Neil Druckmann, but they're just people who they'll defend anything no matter what till their last breath. I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to be fair. People need to stop pretending that the games this man was involved in, like Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 1, were not amazing games that they loved. It's okay to say, you know what? I despise The Last of Us Part 2 and I'm not on board with anything that game did. But I did love The Last of Us 1 and I did love Uncharted 4. And acknowledge that Neil was involved with all three of those games. It's also okay to acknowledge that Bruce Straley was involved with Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 1. And Neil Druckmann went on record saying that he was there to filter out my bad ideas. And he wasn't there for The Last of Us Part 2. It's okay to look at all those things and then say, now I'm nervous for Intergalactic. That's fine. I just think people need to stop being so extreme with so many things all the time. Because it gets boring. It gets boring. It doesn't leave any breathing room it doesn't leave room for potential. You're killing potential before it even has a chance. And I just think that that's something that more and more people are doing these days. But on a positive note, I am seeing people start to push back against it, which is nice. I am seeing more people kind of waking up and realizing, you know what, like, a lot of the people who are pushing these extremist viewpoints of like it can only be one way all the time, people are starting to tune out because they realize that fucking sucks and leads to some of the most boring, uninteresting, mundane, drone-like products or just mentalities. And that's just something that is a little bit more of a positive, where I'm just tired of people coming out and being like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever made, period. And I know that's how I sound with GTA, but, I think that's the exception, not the rule, right? But more broadly speaking, it's like people just kind of coming out and being like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever made because I said so and I want it to be that way and I believe. Because look at it. Look at all the different things that they've done and look at all the different things involved. It gets tiring where it's like, well, the conversation should never just be one way. Like, for example, I am willing to acknowledge that everything I just said about GTA 6 could be wrong. I would be utterly shocked and stunned if I was wrong, but I'm able to see that possible reality and not pretend it doesn't exist. And that's all I wish people would be willing to do. That's it. I don't think it's hard. Even if you're completely convinced that Intergalactic is going to be the biggest heap of trash ever made and the most, it's going to push the biggest agenda, that shove it down your throat and everything else, even if that's what you believe, is it really that hard to just take a step back for just a moment and consider that? But what if it's not that and it's actually just a good game that doesn't do that? It's a possibility. You don't have to put all your stock in that. But just consider it. Just consider it. That's all. And if not, I think that's ultimately fine. I just think that means it's time to walk away. You know? That's all. That's all I think it boils down to, man. Intergalactic destroys GTA. They have Porsche spaceships and product placement. That is a bit awkward. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that product placement, man. That's so awkward. I really don't know how I feel about that. The janky interwebs. GTA could be a cyberpunk mess at launch for all we know. I mean, dude. I don't think anybody's expecting that, but you never know. More likely licensed than product placement. Yeah. You would hope so, right? Well, I mean, remember when Kojima just straight up had product placement in Death Stranding with like Monster Energy and stuff? Let's see. Hold on one sec. Okay. So hold on. Sorry, one sec, guys. All right. No. So, if I'm reading this correctly, I can inform you guys that I will be playing and reviewing Doom: The Dark Ages on PlayStation 5. I believe that's all I can say. But please look forward to that. And I don't have the specific time, but I believe the reviews are able to go up on May 9th. So that'll be very interesting. That's a big one. All right. They did confirm that Doom: The Dark Ages is PS5 Pro enhanced. Yeah. All right. So sorry about that. Mr. B, you got your physical copy pre-ordered? Yeah. Ghost of Yotei is available to pre-order right now. That's a good question, dude. I thought Sony was going to announce plates for the PS5 Pro, but they haven't. So, little confusing. Thank you. I appreciate that, Sergeant. Yeah, I made it to the big time, guys. I'm a professional game reviewer now. I guess. Yeah, I'm so curious if they're going to have any multiplayer component that comes after Ghost of Yotei, cuz Legends was awesome. And man, it would be such a shame if they don't do more with that. It really would be. Where it's like, bro, not again. First the Last of Us factions, then we get nothing. then Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and then we get nothing. Like, they're too good. These games, some of these multiplayer games are too good. Arc Raiders. I've been seeing some gameplay clips of it. It looks. I'm starting to think that I don't like extraction shooters, dude. Because like, all the clips I've seen, and I've like dabbled. I think in. I played that game Vigor for like a little bit, and I didn't really stick around with it. I think it might be the only extraction shooter I've actually had firsthand experience with. But I see the clips of Marathon and I see the clips of Arc Raiders, and I'm like, this is stressing me the hell out. I'm not even playing and I'm getting stressed. And I'm like, you know what, though? I don't know if extraction shooters are going to be my cup of tea because I don't know that I need that stress in my life. Gamers don't understand that even if Xbox was selling on par with PS5, these price increases would still be happening. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And that's why I'm so curious to see what Sony does. You're saying it's not stressful? Maybe I'm just the specific clips I'm coming across seem stressful. To be honest, it's not the gameplay that looks stressful. I think it's the commentary or like the people that I hear. They stress me out a bit, where it's like I could do without the voiceovers because they're usually the ones like kind of freaking out and conveying some kind of stress. I'll still play Marathon though and give it a shot. Arc Raiders, I mean, I don't know. Is that going to be a free to play game? I'd like to try Arc Raiders too. I like the visual style of Arc Raiders, and I like the fact that it's third person. Between Arc Raiders and Marathon, I do think Arc Raiders looks better. That looks like a game I would be more into gameplay wise, just from top to bottom, the aesthetic, the third person shooting, all of it more so than. But I could see myself maybe getting in the Marathon. Not sure though. Not sure. I won't know for sure until I play it. Just trying to keep an open mind. I mean, look, man, I have thousands of hours in like PUBG, so I know stress in games. It's probably why I lost all my hair. But PUBG, you want to talk? I mean, PUBG is extremely stressful, dude. Like, if you're seriously trying to win, 100-player battle royale. I mean, you could spend 20 minutes, roaming around, looting, preparing, trying to beef up your character just to, first group you come across just get absolutely deleted, and then have to start over. And trust me, but that's actually not as bad as you make it to the end and you're in the top 10 and it's just you and you got like 2 other squads and you're just laying in a bush and you're like, all I got to do is just not move and hope to God nobody sees me. You just go total Solid Snake mode. And you got the 2 groups fighting it out. But then that one dude happens to see you and you can't do anything and they just immediately melt you. And it's like, wow, okay. I just did all this for nothing. Sony will try to do a gotcha. They'll try to do a gotcha game next. Generic White Male says, just reached Act 2 of Expedition 33. All I got to say is, holy crap. Bro, I told you. I told you guys. I told you. How many times did I say, like, there's something specific that happens in Expedition 33? I am allowed to talk about it now, by the way. Everybody is. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, though. But yeah, bro, like, after Act 1 of Expedition, there's, like, a major pivotal moment in the plot. And I was shocked. And one of my favorite characters, man. One of my favorite characters. I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to give anything away. But if you know, you know. You got the monolith? Yeah, bro. One of the things that was shocking to me about Expedition 33, by the way, is like, I was not prepared when I beat the game to see how much further it goes. Like, I thought when I beat the game, like, this is endgame. And like, no. You got a lot more to do. And it ramps up like a lot more. And Yeah, it's a great game, dude. Can't recommend it enough. No, still no platinum. Dude, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the platinum. This is what I mean. This is the problem where like I am like not paralyzed, but just I am drowning in games. I literally start to stress where I'm like, sometimes I'm gonna have to walk away because I don't know what to play. I got too many things to play. I'm getting stressed that I can't play any of it, and I can't put like I got real world and real life responsibilities. I run the channel. It's too much, dude. It's too much, and now I'm taking on something else, and so I'm grateful, but it's just like I gotta be real careful where I can't. So I've been trying to juggle. Think about this. I've been trying to juggle Expedition 33, Days Gone Remastered, and Forza Horizon 5, and these are all massive games, dude. And I'm failing. Like I did not put nearly as much time in Forza. I wasn't able to do a proper review of Forza Horizon 5 because I simply wasn't able to put enough time into it. Because I'm busy trying to. I'm like addicted to Expedition 33, but I'm like, well, I want to play Days Gone as well. I've been waiting for that to replay, and I'm like remembering like, holy shit, Days Gone is a massive game that takes forever to beat as well, and and now Doom's coming up. Yeah, Melon, I'm gonna be reviewing Doom: The Dark Ages next, so now there's that, right? Beast Mode's like, MBG, bro, it's okay. Just say you won't get the platinum. It's okay, broski. You can always visit the game later. No, I can't accept defeat like this. No, that's like the reality that's been dawning on me. Where it's like, bro, you're probably not getting the plat. Like, it's not to say you can never get it. It's just like you're gonna have to move on now, man. Because I look at the trophies I have left, and I'm like, that's not that many trophies. But then I understand. I understand like what like how much there is to just getting that one trophy, and I'm like, oh, dude, like, okay. And then I'm like, all right, well, let me go check out Forza Horizon's trophies, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're gonna get 175 trophies. It's like, no, I'm not. Okay, why don't you go check out Days Gone? And Days Gone's got like not double the amount, but they got way more trophies this time around because they have the Horde Assault mode, and I'm like, you know what though? You know what? I can't do this. Like this, I want to platinum these games and I can't. I guess this will be what breaks me out though. Of the, trying to. I'm gonna have to probably shift gears into just like, no pun intended, to just beating games, and then keeping it at that, and just waiting for like different pockets of time to open up where I can do more. Well, yeah, Forza is 54 to platinum, so I guess that's not nearly as bad. So many trophies though, man. IBG equals Doom is terrible. Microsoft tax. No, I mean, you guys already know that I was interested in Doom. Like, it was a game that I was going to play no matter what. I just now have the opportunity to review it, and I didn't play the previous two games. Well, actually, no, I played a little bit. I think of the first one, and I liked what I played. I just, for whatever reason, I didn't latch onto it. But I like what I've seen of Dark Ages. I've seen as much as you guys have, so I'm gonna, I was really happy to hear that it's a prequel. That made me feel good because I'm like, okay, I was really afraid that if I tried to play this game, I'm going to be totally confused as to what's going on. But the fact that it's a prequel makes me feel much better. So I'm stoked for it. But yeah, I'll be, I'll be honest in my feelings on it. Ghetto God, you're pre-ordering Ghost of Yotei right now? Yeah, a lot of people coming in saying they pre-ordered Ghost of Yotei or they're planning on doing so. Oh, and Perfect Image. I'm sorry, man. Hold on. I knew I was going to forget. Perfect Image dropped a direct donation, and I do apologize for keeping you waiting. He says here, well, I hate that I got to wait for next year. I think talking about GTA 6 getting delayed, but I'm okay with that. It will give me more time to finish my career process. I was wrong with my theory. Bit ambiguous there, Perfect Image. Bit ambiguous. Most people I've seen have said that they're okay with it being delayed. I mean, I think there's an initial shock where it's like, not only is it delayed, it's delayed by literally over a year. And I think for some people, that's kind of like, whoa, all right, that's a lot. And I get that. It is a bit shocking. Like when you thought you were going to be playing it in a couple months' time, and it's like, actually, it's going to be 13 months from now. You have other games to play. I'm not going to lie, I was freaking out a little bit. You know what, though? You know what? This gives me more time. I told you guys one of my goals is to be able to get a review copy of GTA 6 and review GTA 6. There's more time now. Can we make it happen? Can we do this? You think I can do it, Will? Yeah, Rockstar's going to hand deliver a review copy in a briefcase. I think they did that for GTA 5, dude. Pretty sure they did that for GTA 5. But no, I don't know, man. I'm like half joking. I don't know. The review thing that I'm doing is still new. So I still am not sure I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep up with it the way that I imagine I will or would like to. But we'll see. It's a process. Still learning, still balancing, still figuring things out. Rockstar doesn't have to give any codes. They know it's selling. Yeah, I do wonder how they're going to handle it. I didn't watch that, okay, but I did see the thumbnail. It popped up in my feed. I guess that would be an interesting one to check out. Yeah, when you think about reviewing GTA 6, I could see how Rockstar would be terrified of leaks. And what if they just said, screw it, we're not doing review. You can review it when it comes out. That would, you know what? That would be pretty sick. It would make the conversation, I think, less interesting leading up to its launch. Because, if they do traditional reviews, that's going to be the talk of the town for a whole week, right? It's going to be a whole week's worth of content there. But they definitely could just come out and be like, no, you can review it when it releases to everybody. To every outlet. We're not risking any leaks whatsoever. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of nuts that almost nothing about GTA 6 is, well, you know what, though? I did forget that they did get hacked. But that's different. They got hacked, obviously, and there was a major data breach. But, I mean, in terms of, developers, secretly leaking things out there and stuff, it seems like that hasn't really happened. So, I feel like, if they've been this disciplined so far, risking some random reviewer leaking something. I mean, I guess it depends though, because imagine you're that person though that leaks something, you're done. Your life is over. I hope it was worth it. You probably just straight up go to prison. Do I think the game is done? You talking about GTA 6? I think GTA 6 is done. I think it's just the game probably requires a ridiculous amount of polish. I assure you I say I assure you and then say probably. I assure you they're taking the next year mostly for polishing. Bug squashing and polishing. A game of this size needs a lot of that. I think GTA 6 has probably been finished for a while. Truthfully. Just finishing touches. Yeah, so from the sounds of it, if they were willing to severely crunch and make their lives miserable for the next like 3 or 4 months, they would be able to release this game before the end of the year. And I got to be honest, like I think this is better. I do. Like there's a difference between like mandatory crunch, like everybody's life is going to be shit now in the name of we got to hit a deadline. There's a difference between that and like people who want to put in the extra effort and go the extra mile. But I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, dude, you don't need to do that. Like, just take your time and, what's the rush? And I mean, I get it. Like, I understand that for a lot of developers, there is a rush because they don't have the padding. They don't have the padding that, GTA Online and that constant revenue stream offers them. But, if you do have that padding, then like, yeah, man, just take your time. Don't ruin your life. Just happy developers probably make better games. I mean, that's my assumption. Happy people probably produce better results. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe we're going to find out like, no, dude, it turns out that misery is what does it. Misery is what does it. We have Soyu, a.k.a. Mr. Hamster, said, had 10 beers after hearing the delay. Cheers, MBG. Damn. Soyu's taking it hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Time will fly. May 2026 will be here before we know it. Greatness happens when you're on the edge of ruining your life. Yeah, you're probably right, honestly. You're probably right. I mean, there is some truth to that. There is some truth to like anything that we consider like great. There's like layers of. It's like shrouded in something that like, is this actually kind of bad for you though? Like what do you need? What is necessary to sacrifice for that greatness? But I don't know, man. As I get older, if I'm being a bit more philosophical here, and we're just talking like more about like life stuff. I just kind of, I used to be much more like that type of way. Like you got to be like intense all the time. If you want greatness, you got to go chase it and like hunt it down. Like don't stop, like stay hungry and all that shit. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. I'm a little bit older now, and I'm not. I'll be honest. Like I don't live. I know, probably doesn't seem like I don't live the most comfortable life. There's still certain struggles in my life that I'm like, okay, still dealing with certain shit, but better than where I was, no doubt about that. When I look back at like where I was 10, 12 years ago, there's no denying that like, okay, the attitude that I had and the demeanor I had makes complete sense. Because if I was in that same situation now, that's exactly how I would be. But once you kind of like, you embrace that and you put your time in, you put the effort in, I think in the future you're afforded a little bit of time to slow down, just a little bit, just to breathe a bit, because you can't enjoy life if you don't stop and smell the roses sometimes, right? That's what they say. And I guess I'm just ultimately trying to get to a point here of saying that the saying life is short, I think, comes to mind. We're like, yeah, man, you don't get, as far as we know, you don't get time back. Like I can't say what happens when we pass on. Nobody can really say. But as far as we're aware, we don't get time back. And, you like what I just said, like looking back 10, 12 years, like, bro, I can't, like, what? Where did that time go? Like, wait, so GTA 5 was almost 13 years ago? What? Feels like just yesterday, if I think about it, like that I was celebrating the launch of GTA 5 and playing it. So, you know, our perception of time is fickle, where as we're experiencing it passing moment by moment, it feels long. Our reflection of it is like, holy shit, why did that feel like it was an instant? It's kind of messed up if you think about it, you know? So I try not to think about it too much. But I don't know, as I get older, I'm like, life is short, man. You know? Lux, that's such a horrible outlook. The combo could be MBG just getting something off his chest. Then comes Softy. Oh, hold on, Beast Mode. What are you talking about? Maybe I missed something. I appreciate that, Beast Mode, though. Beast Mode's got my back. I'm just saying that life is short, and I'm not a believer in everything you do. You should just do what makes you feel good all the time, or what makes you feel the best all the time. Because I feel like that can lead to very unhealthy and a very unbalanced life. But it also goes in the other direction, where it's like, I'll never forget, Mike Tyson showing off, or like he had his belts, and he's just like, this is shit. This is nothing. These belts, they don't mean anything. They're just shit. It's a bit intense, right? But it's like there's really something profound there, where, yeah, it's like it's you got to be careful what it is you're chasing. You got to know why you're doing what you're doing. It's like with me with trophy hunting, right? Like, I don't show off my trophies. Like, I don't show off. I mean, I used to sometimes tweet out about like my platinums or some shit, but I don't know, man. I've had this. I had this. Maybe this is a philosophy. I don't know if it's a philosophy or necessarily just. It could just be a saying, but I've always had this thought in my mind that like the greatest victories are won either quietly or in silence. Like, and I believe there's truth to that, where it's just like, yeah, man, if you know why you're doing what you're doing, and it's for you first and foremost, I mean, how could you lose? So anyway, that's the philosophy segment out of the way. But getting back to what we were talking about, Crunch, I guess I'm just saying, yeah, I have 0 Point actually under my members content. There's a 2-hour stream of me fighting Melania in Elden Ring, and I did get the Elden Ring platinum. But that's the thing, man, is like, me getting platinums is kind of a funny thing, because I'm not doing that I talk about it here on the channel, but I'm not doing that for anybody other than myself. Like, I don't, and I question it sometimes, where like I start to feel stupid, or not stupid, but I start to like question, like, am I really just, why am I doing this? Like, oh, look at the little platinum, and then you see the number go up. I'm like, huh. They do say God's a mathematician. So it is addicting. Yeah, well, it's all about the dopamine fix, right? It's all about the dopamine fix. I think sometimes I have like a tug of war with gaming, where like it's a mix between having those moments where you're entering a flow state while gaming. That's the best. That's way better than earning a platinum. If you can achieve a flow state while gaming, like, that's peak gaming, in my opinion. But it's not always going to happen that way. Gaming is just like anything else. Like, you can't be in the flow state all the time. And when you're not, and you're more hyper aware of all the little details and everything that's going on around you while you're playing your game, or even every little detail that's going on in the game, that's where I think kind of something like trophy hunting, I think it finds its place a little bit more easily. So it's like a hybrid. That's basically what I'm striving for these days. These days, I'm trying to find the flow state in gaming and embrace that more so than kind of like, my neurotic brain just being like, you got to check the boxes and do all the things and make sure you got all the numbers and all the fucking, I get really OCD about it, I guess. Sean Mitchell with the super chat says Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 collector's editions not selling out surely wakes PlayStation up that there needs to be physical with these editions. Yeah, I saw people originally talking about that with with Death Stranding 2, and it is a little bit concerning. It is a little bit concerning to see that neither of these are selling out, and I think it should wake them up because, yeah, that's the biggest complaint I see from PlayStation players that want to buy this stuff. They're like, bro, you know? Wait, Titus, what are you talking about? 3-day topic? Wait, what's the 3-day topic? Microsoft hate? Do you mean like the hate that they're getting right now, or like me hating on Microsoft? Oh, hate for the $80 and a price increase? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I did put in the title here how the PS5 as of right now is like you know what? It's because I'm getting tired, dude. I think that's what it is, Titus. Like I've been doing this for so many years, and I mean I stream almost daily now, and I do wonder like if I here's what I wonder, right? What if I didn't stream for 4 days straight and I didn't say anything about anything for 4 days straight, and then that news drops? How different do I approach that? Does anything change? I don't know. But I do feel like I guess I'm just kind of coming to terms with like, bro, the industry is changing, dude, and I'm changing with it in a way where it's like I used to feel so much better like ranting about shit and screaming about stuff and yelling and getting all passionate and worked up. But I guess I've been doing it for so long. I just kind of realized like and yet nothing has changed. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll put it to you this way. When I would be that way, and I still get that way sometimes. I think now I just get a bit more complainy rather than like angry, ranty. Maybe my testosterone's lower now. I don't know. Maybe I got to go on some of that test. But back then when I used to really get revved up, it was because I really it was coming from a place of like these feelings are genuine. Like I like expressing it this way feels good and it feels right. And then time goes on. Time goes on and you see that, well, there's a cyclical nature to almost everything. And I just started to see things differently where I'm like, well, how many other people are doing this exact same thing? And I just started to become hyper aware of everything, man. And I hate it. I'll be honest. Like I hate how hyper aware I am where it's like, like there's layers to it. How much of what people are doing is truly real? And I'm not trying to like do like the whole red pill shit here, like Matrix. I'm like, how many people are complaining, ranting, yelling at the camera, flipping tables, throwing a tantrum, throwing a fit? How much of it is actually real versus how much of it is this is what they know is going to people's attention, give them clicks, and ultimately make them more money. And I've after looking around and observing, and believe me when I tell you guys, a big part of what I do on YouTube and running this channel is I keep my finger on the pulse. I do see what's going on out there. You know, I may not talk about it a lot. Sometimes I do, most times I don't, but I'm well aware of what's going on out there. You know, and I usually have a pretty good feel for, I'm in the know, I guess you could say. And I've just kind of woken up to the realization, and this was a little while ago, that like almost all of this is bullshit. Not necessarily like what we're doing here, but just so many people, it's just bullshit, dude. Like, for example, there are going to be people today, I promise you, there are going to be people today having some of the most insane reactions to this GTA 6 delay. And it's like, and I don't know, getting back to what you were talking about, when I saw those price increases from Microsoft, there was this initial thought of like, I should fucking drag them over the coals for this. You know what I mean? Like, fuck Microsoft, bro. I told but I just realized like it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't, because it's like, bro, the people who want to believe what they want to believe about Microsoft, about Xbox, and about these price increases are going to do that. And there's not a single thing I could say or do to change their minds. And not a single thing I say or do is going to change Microsoft's mind. Certainly not Microsoft's mind. So the only thing that's left to do is be hyper aware of the fact that I can have a certain reaction. I can have a more visceral reaction. And, you know, to be fair, it would benefit the channel where I think people do get more engaged with that. But I would have to do so knowing that, like, you know, it's just the greatest example of this. One of the greatest examples I can give you is go back to, you don't have to do this, but you could just hear what I'm referencing. February 2024. Microsoft does their emergency podcast meeting. I streamed for 7 fucking hours that day, and I was losing my shit. And I look back on that, and I'm like, that definitely, I can see why that's entertaining. Got this grown-ass man sitting there freaking the fuck out on Microsoft as they're doing this, you know, this podcast, and like screaming at people like, don't believe the lies, like, don't give in. And honestly, it took something like that to just kind of wake me up a little bit and be like, dude, no, I know 7 hours is an average stream for most. I'm saying I spent that 7 hours like high blood pressure screaming, and not, you know, and like being super intense about Microsoft and what they're doing and how they're going to try to finesse everybody right now. And the only thing it resulted in, well, truthfully, it did result in some pretty good engagement on the channel, but I felt bad about it because I just kind of realized that, like, dude, like, the saying, be careful who you choose, be careful when arguing with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. You know? Like, and that's what it is. And that's all I see now. Like, my vision is cursed, bro. It's like my eyes opened one day and I can't unsee. I wish I could unsee it all. And that's all I see anymore. I see people arguing. I see people fighting. I see people, like, everybody thinks they're so right. And it's like, you all just look like idiots. I'm sorry, but you do. Because nobody cares if you're right. Nobody cares. And even if you are right, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't even matter. Because people move on to the next thing. It's all one big cyclical machine. And I'm sorry that I seem so, I don't mean to be so, like, you know, doomer about it. I know that's like how it is these days, but I said something to my wife the other day, and I've been thinking about it because I'm like, I think this is really the new mantra of my life. At least I want it to be. And it's that like I don't want bullshit in my life. Now I don't think that's exclusive to me. I think a lot of people feel that way. I just don't want the bullshit. And it's because I realize like I've been through so much bullshit for so many years. And obviously I keep most of what we discuss here. It pertains to gaming. And gaming has been a massive part of my life. That's why that's why I am passionate about it. I care so much about it because it's been such an important, integral part of my life. But my life is my life. You know what I mean? Like, and there's been a lot to it. And I've talked to you guys about some of the stuff in the members lounges and whatnot. And even this year, I've had some of the craziest shit happen this year that just is like, I'm still shell shocked by, I'm still not okay. Right. And it's like, I just don't want any more bullshit. And when I look around and I see what people are doing out of desperation, and I understand, like, people are desperate, right? Desperate times call for desperate measures. I totally get it. And people, you'd be surprised what people are willing to do when their back's against the wall. Probably be surprised what you're willing to do if your back's ever against the wall. You don't ever want to find yourself in that position. But I look around and it's just like, I just can't, dude. Like, I can't engage with this bullshit. And it's been hard. It's been hard because I definitely know that, everything I'm saying, a lot of what I'm saying is antithetical to what drives specifically success on social media in 2025, on YouTube, in all these other places. And, there's that combined with certain real life struggles that it's just like, I'm in the process of trying to thread a needle that I don't know if I'm going to be able to successfully thread it or not. But yeah, man, I've had my moments, and who knows, this could just be a phase I'm in. It could just be how I feel today. But yeah, it's just hard for me. I am well aware that the easier thing for me to do, the more, if I'm talking, like, people sometimes have to run their channels like a business, right? Gavin, no, you didn't, I don't think you accidentally ate shrooms, but people have to run their channels and their social media and everything kind of like a business if you're trying to make a living off of it, right? And I can tell you right now, the more logical, simpler thing to have done yesterday is, yeah, I ate the catnip, bro. That's what it is. The catnip's, it's got to me. But it would have been to like, I'm going to go berserk now. I'm going to do the thing. And I'm going to go berserk on Microsoft. Even though I'm not actually that, it's going to be an exaggeration, essentially. That would be likely more beneficial to the bottom line of my channel. But I can't do that. I couldn't bring myself to do that because I realized like that's not actually how you feel right now, though. There are things that you look at that and you're like, wow, great job, Microsoft. Like, price increases. That's who, like, I'm sure people are going to love buying the Xbox now. $730 Xbox. That's wonderful. But it's just like, I just don't have it in me because it's like, bro, I know that what I'm looking at, this is what we've been like. It reminds me of all the times when people would talk about Microsoft, like Microsoft is their friend. They're giving me the best deal in gaming, and they love me, and they care about me, and they want to tuck me in at night, and wish me sweet dreams and all this shit. And I'm over here like yelling, like telling people like you're fucking wrong. And you know why you're wrong? Because you're missing the blatantly obvious reality that everybody should be able to clearly see that Microsoft is a corporation just like every other corporation, and they don't give a single shit about how you feel. And they're not trying to be your friend. They're trying to give you a good deal right now to get you in the door so they can extract probably even more money than Sony can from your pockets in the future. That's the name of the game. You know? That's always been the name of the game. That will never not be the name of the game. That's not exclusive to Microsoft. I had to deal with people, dragging me over the coals, basically, because I wasn't having mental breakdowns over Sony increasing the price of the PS5 in certain regions or a PS Plus price increase. And then I get labeled and accused of being a certain type of person because of that. And that's because it's like, yeah, dude, Sony's not trying to bullshit me. They want my money. They're not hiding that fact. They're a corporation. They want my money. They're just letting me know. And it's up to me to decide if I feel like it's worth it or not. And I just tried to convey to people that Microsoft at some point is going to do that exact same thing to you, because eventually they're going to realize that, we need money too. We want money too. And they're not going to hide that from you anymore. And that's where we are. And, yesterday was the day where people woke up. I saw so many people yesterday that have been doing nothing but mercilessly shitting on PlayStation and PlayStation fans. All generation had to do a complete U-turn yesterday. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, I fucking told you. Like, there were others out there that tried to tell you, like, this is how it was always going to be. Because it's the way it's always been. Because it's not difficult to grasp. The video game market it's just like any other market. There are businesses that are here to make money off of you. They all just go about it in different ways. Pro-consumer this, anti-consumer that. At the end of the day, you're going to find out that it's all about, can we just get more money from you? Are you upset with the way we're trying to get money from you? You are? Okay, we're going to have to tweak it a little bit. And then we'll push it a little bit further down the line. That's all it is. Flying, crying, Jim Ryan. I've seen it all. Silent Spartan, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting, buddy. I got so, I don't know. I got so wrapped up in my own conversation here. Silent Spartan, a member for 18 months, says, now that GTA 6 has moved to next year, is Lost Soul Aside back on the table for you? There's a very good chance. By the time it comes out in late August, I will still be playing GTA. I'll still be playing Metal Gear Solid, but yeah, it's definitely back on the table because it really, I think, is going to depend on what's lined up for November and December. There's a good chance that there's going to be a good period of time there, probably in December or the last couple weeks of November, where I will have time to go back or start playing games that I had to pass up on. So, Silent Spartan, yes. Lost Soul Aside is definitely back on the table because I thought GTA was going to be like a late November or late October, early November game, and I would have to clear the way for that, Hopefully Sony raises the prices even higher than Microsoft just to show who's the real premium console. That's a hell of a strategy, bro. Logically, what else could any of these corporations do? That's the thing, man. Like, nothing. A certain truth here that it if we talk about it from this height, right? If we zoom out far enough and we talk about it from this height, it becomes a more political conversation, which is why I'm not interested in it anymore. But it's like, Microsoft is worth trillions of dollars. Sony is worth billions of dollars. These companies, especially Microsoft, bro, Microsoft could give everybody an Xbox for free and they wouldn't feel it. They would hardly feel it. They're worth trillions, dude. It's less than a drop in the bucket. It's just that's not how this works. That's just not how it works. all these executives who were put in charge to run these corporations, like, these are people, you have to understand, like, they're all people that abide by a certain rule. You don't get somebody who's going to walk into the board of Microsoft and be like, and to be fair, years ago, these corporations used to be a little bit more fast and loose, but you're not going to get somebody that walks in to Microsoft in the boardroom in the year 2025 and is like, what if we just gave away Xboxes, though? What if we just did that? They would immediately be fired. And the person who's been gunning for that position for years, now it's your turn. A lot of these businesses turn into yes men. And the yes men, usually they're the ones that are usually just, robotic, precise, what's going to inflate, what's going to pad the bottom line versus what's not. And you notice that across the board these days. The more people who have less money, the harder you will find it too. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, is everybody's going to feel it across the board, right? To an extent. Hold on. Let me see here. The value of Microsoft stocks increased 10%, and it's the most valuable company. It's the most valuable company in the world right now, above Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, and Google. And that's a crazy thing, dude, is that, like, Microsoft, there's still people like, well, Game Pass is still a great value. We're still the best value in gaming. And it's like, yeah, but it's not going to stay that way. Like, only a fool would actually believe it's going to stay that way. That's not me projecting my hatred for Microsoft. That's just me telling you that, like, it's 2 + 2 = 4 logic, dude. Once Microsoft gets what it is, once they get into a position that they've been trying to get to for many, many years in gaming, they're not going to be your friend about it. They're going to be like, we want your money. And that's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just the inflection point that we're about to encounter is going to be a really fascinating one, because this is, I think, going to be one of the first times in a long time. And I think there have been moments like this in the past, but maybe not quite as intense as this, what's coming up. And the Switch 2, I think, is the beginning of it. And we're seeing it continue with what Microsoft's doing. But I think this is going to be like a really... There's going to be a very clear line drawn in the sand, right? Where it's like, here's the barrier to entry now. And you're either in it or you're not. Like, you're either going to pay up or you're going to walk away. And this is why I try to, like, tell people, like, you got to be really careful about what it is, like, who it is you're cheering on anymore. Because I assure you, like, there are people who will tell you what you want to hear while doing the exact opposite. And I've been seeing that. And that's very frustrating, because it's like, I think people need to kind of pay closer attention. Like, bro, you need to make, like, we're going to see a divide. Like, people are going to have to make a decision. Like, you're either on board with gaming or you're not. And I know that seems a bit loaded. Like, so, and see, Lux, that's the thing. I'm not saying it's like either be a shill or not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, you're either going to say, I'm going to continue to partake, or you're not. Now, there are alternatives, that's the great thing, is there are more options than ever before, but you see that those options are becoming not necessarily more limited, but just more focused in that, well, if console gaming or PC, if AAA console gaming or AAA PC gaming is too expensive for you, there's always the free to play games. And the free to play games, they will always be there, but they're always going to be the same game, right? And they're going to evolve and they're going to thrive on microtransactions. We've seen how it's been a struggle for more and more of these publishers that are trying to put more and more live service games out there. They're struggling to become those types of games. And yeah, so another alternative is you could do mobile gaming. That's usually pretty free or cheap, right? And I just think it's becoming clear that like a lot of people are going to have to decide, like, do you want to keep spending money in this space? Because the requirement is going to be just that. You're going to have to start, if not spending more money, being much more picky. And there is this collective hope. And there is something to this, though. There is something to this. There's this collective hope that, well, maybe enough people are about to get priced out that these corporations are going to panic and get humbled again, right? Where it's like they're going to see massive drops. People are not paying $80 for games. People are not buying these consoles. People are not paying for these sub-services. People are not supporting it. And then, we'll be back to where we were back during like the early PS3 days or, the Xbox One or whatever. We're like, now the companies have to bend the knee. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I'm not opposed to that happening. It's just, I can't pretend that I'm going to be that guy that's like, I'm not supporting any of this shit. Because I feel like we are at that point where it's like, bro, you're either going to pay $80 for some games, one game, or no games. And in my opinion, the only way you effectively send a message that you're not paying $80 for games is you never, ever pay $80 for a game. Ever. And I already know I'm going to fail that. Don't confuse me any more than I am, Corey. You don't think that's true? Well, I mean, think about it. Like, there are basically three messages you could send. One is, I'm not ever paying $80 for a video game, period. Two, I'm only going to pay $80 on a very, very, very select few games that I feel are worth it. Or three, I'm going to just keep buying like all the AAA games for $80, and that's fine. And I think these publishers are prepared for a lot of people to just be picky and choosy, right? I think what they're not prepared for is the majority of people being like, no. And that's the thing. I when I try to evaluate it from like a more objective standpoint, or not objective, but just a more like logical standpoint, like what's realistically likely to happen, I think, I don't know, man. I think that there are going to be still many AAA games that sell for $80 in the years to come that are going to do amazingly well. And I don't think that's going to be conducive to an end goal of like, all right, these corporations got to be humbled, bro. Like I don't think that's gonna. I'm not convinced. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced it's going to happen. I don't think that makes people shills. I just think it means that the market speaks. I think the market is frustrated. I do think the market is frustrated, but I don't know that frustration outweighs if it's within their means to partake. I don't think it outweighs that. I think they're still going to choose to partake, broadly speaking. But maybe I'm wrong. I'll tell you, if I'm wrong, what's going to happen next is very interesting. That would be very interesting. I don't know, man. I guess we'll see. I guess we're going to find out together. They should just round the game prices up to 100. Well, you know, if they did that, I would tell you that I think there's a very good chance there's going to be some kind of revolution in gaming, a complete flip. You know, I could see that changing things dramatically very quickly. The market is a lot of rich people's money put there to squeeze to get more money out of it. That's the market. Well, yeah, we did have that discussion about how these companies are more focused on trying to hone in on the paying customers and basically like trying to get them to pay more because they've already shown a willingness to pay. Yeah, I think that is what we're starting to see. I think we've been seeing that for a little bit, but I think we're going to see it even more so now. And that does track. You know, there is logic there. Like, it's hard for me to look at a corporation and say that's a stupid idea. Like, no, if you think about it, it's probably a safer bet. You know, it's probably a safer bet where it's like, well, if we can't win over these 5 people over here, can we just convince these 3 people over here to pay a little bit more to offset that? It's, you know, I think that's what we're watching happen right now. But there is always that concern of growth. Can you claim you're growing the business and growing the brand if you're foregoing those 5 people and just focusing on the same 3 people? Well, you know, all these companies are going to give the same answer, right? They're going to say, well, we can't force it to grow during economic times like this, right? And, you know, they're kind of not wrong. I don't know. Are they wrong? I don't know. That's where I think things become, you know, I'm not a part of these boards. I don't get paid, you know, by these companies to answer these questions. So I'm not going to break my brain trying to figure it out. Titus with the super chat says, so what does that mean? Well, gaming and budget is gone. I don't think it means budget's gone. I think it means that there's a more clear gap now. Like, it's hard to determine that though, because I say this, but like right now there's a AAA game for $50. I'm talking about Expedition 33. There's a AAA game for $50 that I don't think anybody, like, you would assume that's like a set, like that game could be sold for $80 with everything it's offering and doing. Like, that is a AAA game, but it's $50. So what does that mean? You know what else I think it is? I think it's that maybe, and I've been taking such a negative viewpoint of this, but maybe a more positive look is that this maybe does open up a much greater opportunity for independent developers to do exactly what Sandfall has done. Right? Where it's like you have these corporations that are so obsessed with they've reached this crazy height of profitability, of revenue, and they're terrified of it going down. They're terrified. Meanwhile, you have these hungry ass developers and maybe smaller publishers that they see this and they're like, there's a massive kind of like middle lane we can take right now. And we can afford to do that because we're not, our heads aren't in the clouds. Like, I just can't help but think, like, what were Expedition 33's, you know, Sandfall Entertainment and Kepler, who published it, like, what were their expectations? Because whatever their expectations were, blown out of the water. And I think that level of humility, you know, these people who made this game clearly knew, like, they were making something great. They were making something truly great. But that humility, I think, just comes from, I hate to say it, man, but a lack of greed. And I think that's all it really boils down to, man. I think you're talking about devs who were just passionate about making a great fucking game and just being thankful that they have that opportunity, being thankful they even have a budget, thankful they even have a publisher, willing to say, we think we should just price this at 50. We don't want to push it too far. And then they find a level of success that they probably could have only dreamed of. Because I can tell you right now, these devs knew what they were cooking. They knew. They're not stupid. Like we're making something fucking great here. How could you not know that? Of course they knew. But they didn't come out with just sense of like, yeah, well, we could get more for this, so we should. They didn't. They were humble about it. And I think that's, I don't know, man. Maybe Expedition 33, as surprising as it is, maybe that's the answer here for all of it, where it's like, not every game needs to be that way, but this can exist. And it just means that, like, because I want you to think about this. Like, imagine if a big AAA publisher, like, were to buy the studio and own the Expedition 33 IP now. You already know what's going to happen. You already know. It's like, well, now we're going to make it even bigger, like 10 times bigger. And we're going to make it an $80 game. And we're going to make sure it's got, like, you know what, fuck it. Let's make it somehow, some way. Let's make an Expedition 33 live service game. Like, this is the type of bullshit that I'm not saying it doesn't have its place and it doesn't work. It does sometimes. But it's just like, bro, I don't know. I just do know that Expedition 33 has done something very peculiar at a specific moment in time in the games industry that I'm just so curious to see, like, how developers and publishers respond to it, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just an anomaly, and it's like, yeah, it happens sometimes, man, but it's not really going to change anything. I don't know. The industry needs thousands of layoffs. Well, they've already gotten them. It's already happened, right? We're going to see a future where small, very talented teams use powerful AI tools licensed from corps like Microsoft to build AAA level games with less than 30-person dev teams. I mean, yeah, that certainly seems like a possibility. I don't know that we would feel too great about that, Well, I mean, as far as I'm aware, Expedition 33 didn't use AI, right? Because I'll be honest, man, if we found out that they did use some type of AI to help, I would not be shocked, because I'm like, bro, it's hard to believe 30 people made this game. It really is. The 33 team made a successful game because they were trying to make a game instead of money. And that's always the coolest thing, right? It's always the coolest thing when you see people, people who can kind of find a happiness in their craft, and the money is secondary. Money is always important. Everybody, like, I need money, you need money, everybody needs money. Everybody wants more of it. I'm not thinking everybody's like, I don't want more money. Like, I mean, maybe that exists, but it's just, they're not thinking about the money. They're nervous about failing, of course. Everybody, I think, is. But it's like, yeah, dude, they make a game that they think is going to be amazing, and they want it to be great, and they just want it to maybe be modestly successful. It's like, just enough, right? Just enough is enough for us. And then they're like, holy shit. That's always a really cool thing to see. It just doesn't always happen that way, though, And there is a big question of, like, what happens next with this team? Can they replicate what they just did here, or is that out of the window? It's like try to think about Helldivers 3 for a moment, right? Or if another Helldivers game does happen, or just the next game from Arrowhead, there is this shadow now looming where it's like, well, you made it big, so what are you going to do now? And, you could maybe see them just say, fuck it, we're going to operate the way we always have and just pretend that Helldivers 2 never even happened. Like, that level of success, like, that never happened. That's hard, though. And I don't know, man. Make it bigger. Make it better. It all comes back down, it boils back down to a more philosophical conversation here, where it's like, is more better? Or is more just set you up for greater loss. The more you have, the more you have to lose. I don't know. I mean, that's quite the conundrum, right? I mean, that's like that's a tough one to answer. Because if you look at the way many things operate, they will tell you more is better. More is more, and we need more because more is always better. Without more, we can't make it. And sometimes I just find myself questioning, like, when's it enough? Can enough be good? More, we are convinced all the time, more is better and good. It's good and better. Enough, all enough really does is just make you think it, but it could be better. So why not make it better? And it's like, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. More for who? Somebody. Somebody wants more. I don't know, man. I mean, I can't help but just kind of view all of this from a more philosophical lens, because I do think that there's a lot of cages being rattled right now. There's a lot of shakeup going on, and I think it does kind of force people to start asking certain questions. And the things that happen around us, like, I don't try to bury my head in the sand, but I try to be aware enough that, like, a lot of the things that are happening around me will affect my life to some extent, even if it's just my gaming life. Like, the amount of people that I've seen leaving comments like, Trump just ruined gaming. And I'm like, well, that's a whole nother can of worms. But it's like, you say Trump today, a couple years ago, I was seeing a different word. It wasn't the president of the United States. It was EA and loot boxes. And prior to that, it was online passes. And then after loot boxes, it was $20 skins. And you see, like, this is why I'm saying it's a cyclical, never ending. There's always going to be something ruining gaming. So it doesn't matter what it is. It changes shape, it changes form, but it will always persist. And so all of this is to say that, guys, you have the power. And I mean that. I know that sounds super cliche and maybe not where this is going, but and when I say you have the power, I'm not going to lie to you and say you have the power to shut down these corporates and to fucking make everything right. No. I'm not going to lie to you and bullshit you and convince you of that. All I'm trying to say is you have the power to determine what gaming means to you and how you want to engage with it and what role it plays in your life. It's no different than me always thinking that, man, everybody's so negative all the time. Well, that's because you're on Twitter all the time. It's like, that is true. And you know what, buddy? You have the power to not be on Twitter. You have the power to not read all those random comments that make you have a certain perception. It's tough. I think at the end of the day, man, like, the answer lies within each individual gamer. It's up to you, man. It's up to you to decide. Is the GTA 6 delay a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Did Rockstar just ruin your life today? Or is this game going to be even better now when it comes out? That's for you to decide. Will it be $80? Who knows? All this is to come back around and say, Xbox still sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sean Mitchell with a $5 chat says, rumors circling again that Half-Life 3 will be revealed this summer with a release this year. Bro, I saw that and I'm like, I don't even know how to react to that at this point. Like, people are going to lose their minds and I'm like, I don't know. There it is. It's real, apparently. I mean, Half-Life 3, it's kind of like a joke at this point. It's been a joke for a long time. And like now it just seems very much like, oh no, 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 it's real and it's coming this year. It's like, excuse me? Wait, what? And so I don't know. I mean, I think the real question with a Half-Life 3 is like, is it even remotely possible for a game like this to live up to the frankly unrealistic expectations that are on it? To me, that's the thing that is going to be interesting to observe if it does turn out to be real. That's what's going to be interesting to observe. The answer lies in the heart of combat. Well, nothing will put you into a flow state quicker, that's for sure. Believing a Half-Life 3 rumor in 2025 is crazy. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying I've been seeing a lot of rumors popping up from like multiple places that are like, are we, I guess we're just going to assume that all of these different rumors from all these different places are just total bullshit. I mean, it's definitely possible. It's Half-Life 3. Of course it's, you want to lean on the side of, you want to err on the side of caution. Quite a few Radiohead songs are appropriate at the moment. Titus says, I believe, man. I mean, listen, they can never take it away if it exists up here, right? They can never tell you it's not real. I remember I was playing Silent Hill 2 Remake, and when you finish the hospital section and you're getting ready to leave, you have to pick up this one letter, and it's like a doctor that talks about possibly regretting their decision to destroy a patient's delusions, and basically asking the question like, is it right to destroy this patient's clearly fabricated delusions if they're happy, to then impose actual reality onto them and make them miserable? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know that I have the answer to that one, Silent Hill 2, but I'm glad you're asking the important questions here. Shout out to Silent Hill 2, bro. Game's amazing. Crush the Xbox and hear the lamentation of their women. Oh, man. Okay, Conan. Okay, Conan the Pony. I know that steak doesn't exist, but what a great scene. That's another great scene. The Matrix Cypher eating the steak. I know the steak isn't real and it doesn't exist, but my brain tells me otherwise, The Matrix was such a great movie. Truly a great movie. Bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Once you know, you cannot unknow. Unless you're talking to Agent Smith and the machines decide to, give you a clean start. Erase your memory. There's already a few games that I'll pay $80 for because I'm hyped for them and can't wait. I mean, that's how I feel too, That's how I can't help that. That's just the truth. There are definitely games I would pay $80 for. Now, granted, I'm not a rich individual. Like, I wouldn't be able to just buy every single game that drops for $80. No chance. Like, there is a certain level where I would be priced out too, realistically. But yeah, I would like look throughout the year, like, all right, if there's like 5 games coming out, timing them, like which games can wait, which games do I need to have day one, kind of planning it out that way. Lux, I don't know that that's. Oh, okay. Gotcha. It's the best movie about being a transformer. Well, I mean, technically they're like batteries, so what's the difference at that point? Green Ninja says Xbox as a brand is dead to me. They've not gotten over Halo or Gears. They have not added to their library. They've only bought IPs to stay relevant. It's an interesting. That's an interesting viewpoint. I mean, you're definitely not the only one who feels that way. Xbox to me as a brand is not dead. It's just I just think of different things now. Like I think that's why I couldn't have the reaction yesterday that people, I guess maybe some people expected me to, because it's like it felt like the equivalent of EA telling me that they're pricing their games up to $80. Where it's like, oh yeah, that sucks, dude. But like I don't, okay. I mean, I guess I was kind of expecting that. I'm anticipating all publishers are going to do this. It's like I saw again the reactions of people being like, "Oh my god, look at how expensive the Xboxes are," and it's like it doesn't matter, dude. Like you, and I'm not like this. It's not a slight at Xbox anymore. It's just not. It's like trying to insult, a dead person by actually going to their grave and like. I mean, it's a sick metaphor, but like I'm gonna yell at their grave, and I got him. Like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, go home. And I know that's like that feeds into the whole Xbox is dead thing. It's like it's not that, bro. The Xbox console's dead, man. It is. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying that as a fanboy. I'm not saying that as somebody who wants it to be dead. I'm just saying it is. It is over. It's like I'm gonna walk up to Xbox, the console's grave, and be like, "Get up, come on! I know you got more in you." Like, bro, they're 6 feet under, decaying. Go away. And I'm not, but the Xbox brand, I don't know. Did Key and Peele do a skit like that? It sounds like they would. The Xbox brand, though, like, it definitely still exists, and that's what's weird, dude. Like, bro, Microsoft is contacting me to review games for them on PlayStation. Like, that's just crazy. Like, I don't even know what to think about. Like, yeah, I don't. It's over, bro. And I don't know. I'm trying to just get adjusted to this new. I'm trying to predict, but probably failing to do so, where this really ends up. Because I feel like the ball's in motion. Like the play is in motion. The toss is it's in the air. And it's like, where's it gonna land? And just kind of waiting and trying to predict the trajectory and figure out where it's gonna drop. And that, unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. I think for a couple more years. But yeah, I don't know, man. They do it with the "you got something on your shirts" prank. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, I may not have seen that one. The toss, the pass, the drop. I don't know. Interesting times, though, man. Interesting times. Definitely, I can assure you, there's no way I could have seen any of this happening. I look back at 2020, 2021, I would have never imagined this is how things would play out. What are my thoughts on Sweeney's theory that gaming is struggling because devs have prioritized everything except fun, which is its most critical pillar? It's an interesting theory. And I do think that to an extent there is truth to it. But I don't think it's too broad stroke. Like, I think what it might be is that there are more games than ever before to choose from. And so many of these games are fun. But so many of these games are the type of fun that you've already had over and over and over and over again. And I think it's just like anything else, where it's like you can play the same type of game with just slightly altered rule set. Maybe you know, a different, on a different field or something. But if you keep playing that same type of game over and over and over again with just minor tweaks here and there, no matter how fun it is, it's going to become, I think, less fun. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We're like, like I still play Call of Duty, right? But Call of Duty is not nearly as fun to me as it was many years ago. I don't get that same feeling anymore. It feels like routine practically. And that feeling persists. Like, it's why I am very reluctant about diving headfirst into new Souls-like games, just because it's like I know what to expect. The type of fun that this game is likely to offer, I know what to expect. And I don't know, I guess that for me, that, not to keep talking about it, but that's what was crazy about Expedition 33, is I went into that game assuming I'm not going to have fun because I don't play turn-based. And that's why I told you guys I was so afraid with my review of that game. Like, it's actually not, I'm going to find out it's not that good of a game. This is just you having that first initial elation of experiencing a solid turn-based game. And everybody else is going to be like, bro, been there, done that. It's not doing anything great or new. And I'm glad to see it wasn't that. But I was afraid of that. And I guess I just think that what people consider fun in gaming has been here for a long time. And it hasn't changed much. And I think that this is just a natural problem for anything that sticks around long enough. It's like storytelling. It reminds me of story. Like, what do they say? There's like 6 or 7 stories you can tell, basically. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, there's only really like 6 or 7 distinct types of stories you can tell. The only thing that changes between them is just the minor details, the finer details, and that's probably true, And I think about that and I'm like, yeah, well, if storytelling sticks around long enough, you have the same type of stories with so many different variations, and then they become variations of variations. At what point do people at what point do we hit that kind of wall of like, there's just really nothing else that can be done? I think about this with music, dude. Like I think about, because I listen to like rock and metal, and I look at how rock music evolved from like the 50s to the 60s, the 60s to the 70s, 70s to the 80s, 90s to the early 2000s to the 2010s, and to where it is now. And it's like something happened. And it's not just rock music. This is pretty much true for almost all music, but like something happened where the floodgates just opened, where for decades it was people discovering new interesting ways to make music, different types of sounds, different types of arrangements and all this shit. And then I think it happened between 2010 and 2020 where like something just happened where like the floodgates opened, and now it's like everything has been done. And then even after that, more things have been done. And then things on top of that have been done, where no matter where you look now, it's like it's been done multiple times already. There's nothing truly new or unique. And you could say, well, this is a new band or a new artist with a different sound. And it's like, no, there's definitely already been at least 3 people that have sounded this way. It's just that there's nowhere else left to go. I really feel like this, man. I feel like really the only place left to go and just talking about music is like, I think you're going to start to see people kind of go backwards, or like almost like restart it. Like, let's take the thing that was being done decades ago and bring it back today, and it will feel new. It's not new, but it will feel new because it's whole new generation, whatever. Like, they weren't around for that time, and they don't probably know who those bands are, who those artists were. I just think about this with gaming too, where it's like, I mean, that is being done. You can go play so many games right now that it feels like it was a game that was made in the 80s or whatever, or the 90s, and it gives you that classic feel. But I don't know, man. It's just I don't know that it's that simple, that it's just games aren't fun anymore. I think that there are older generations of gamers now, gamers in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and maybe even older than that, they've kind of seen it all. And you have younger generations that are engaging with games. And, you know, I look at what those games are doing, and it's like, yeah, the games that kids latch onto today are not doing anything truly new. It's just a different coat of paint. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And so, like, for those young kids, like, that is new and that is fresh. And I just, I think there's also a lot of older developers. I mean, Tim Sweeney's an older guy. And I think there's older developers that are still in the industry that, like, they've kind of been around, well, not kind of, they've been around the block numerous times. They've seen it all as well. And they can kind of identify, I think, that, like, what these younger generations of developers are doing are pretty much the same things. And I just think that there's this kind of void right now of, like, well, something's got to fill it, right? And it's like, I don't know that there is a void. That, like, I think that's kind of the point. Like, there isn't a void. Like, everything that can be done in this space has essentially been done. And so for from now on, it's just going to be refinement, iterate, and then refine again and iterate again, and then take something that was old and make it new again, and rinse and repeat. I mean, think about it. The biggest game that we've been talking about, GTA 6, is it truly going to do something new that hasn't actually been done? Like, I mean, something truly revolutionary in the sense that it's pioneering something. I mean, I don't want to say it's not, but what I will say is, if it is, I can't quite identify what it would be. That would, you know what I mean? Like, I th- what GTA 6 could represent is the ultimate refinement. Is the true peak of, like, it's all been leading to this, of, like, this world is truly, like, the most sophisticated, immersive, open world that replicates our world, and we've never seen anything like it. And so, in that sense, it would be new, but inherently, on, like, a base level, it's not. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but, like, yeah, I mean, like, that's what GTA 3 was at the time. You know? That's what GTA 3 was. It's an interesting conversation, though, man. I think these conversations about the gaming industry and about the medium, and even just across all entertainment mediums, I really do find them genuinely interesting and thought provoking, because we see what's going on. We see what's in front of us. And, you know, I I think about the things that I'm excited for. One of the things that I'm interested in finding out this year is, I think about Death Stranding 2, and it's like, I don't think Kojima's about to bring something new to the table. I don't think that's I don't think that's what's going to happen. But it's all at the same time, it's kind of like what I said about GTA 6, where, like, what I do know is that there's likely going to be a very robust, intricate refinement of what he already brought to the table numerous times. And in that sense, it won't feel truly new and fresh, but it will feel delightful. Like, wow, I really like that. You know? Like, it's not new, it's not inherently new, but it's refined in a way that I can really appreciate. Although I will say Kojima does seem to be trying to do something very different and new with the Xbox game he's made. Or well, it's going to be everywhere now, obviously, but the horror game. And he's working with Jordan Peele. He keeps kind of like stressing that this is going to be something, and that's why I feel like Kojima is interesting to keep track of him, because like even now in his older age, he's still like, can I just do something totally new and different that's never been done? And like, yeah, maybe he'll be the one with this upcoming horror game, but I don't know. I I have no idea what it could be. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. Planet Schlorpian, member for 18 months, says arguing with Bethesda fanboys is impossible. I legit heard one of them on Reddit say that Oblivion Remake and Skyrim have better NPC AI than Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, people can believe what they want, but I don't think that's true. I think most of us would say that that's not true. No offense to Oblivion, but it's just like, bro, that's crazy. Yeah, you got to be careful, man. That's what I'm saying. You got to be careful who you're choosing to argue with, because I realize that I really have changed in the last year or two. And nothing is a greater representation of that, of how I interact with Twitter. Like, dude, I have these moments where I keep trying to go back to Twitter to just use it, and I'm just like, I'm just going to delete everything. Like, I can't do it. Like, I literally can't do it. And I realize like something has changed. Not Twitter. Twitter hasn't changed. Something in me has changed where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I've tried. And it's weird. It's just weird. It's like I want to use it. Like I used to care about using Twitter. Like I used to like, to a degree, the bullshit that was present on Twitter and like arguments. And I'm like, I don't anymore. But I still use it to keep up with shit and see what's going on. Our discussion really is a highlight of why anything new sells so well, regardless of how minuscule it actually is. Yeah. Yeah. I know I was tweeting out a bunch yesterday, and they weren't like bad tweets or anything. I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't feel anything anymore on Twitter. I really don't. Like, I don't know if I've been doing this for too long. I don't know. It's like weird. I'm in this weird split space right now with all of this where I feel like I've reached some kind of level that I've been striving for many, many years, which is like, can I just do a better job of not giving a shit about the things that I don't like, that are not worth giving a shit about? And I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. It's weird though, because like it's different. It's different, and I guess you got to kind of adjust to it in a way. Go to Blue Sky? No, I'm good, dude. I don't need to. I don't know. The only reason I don't delete my Twitter is because I have a lot of followers, even though I hardly even tweet at all. I'm trying to like do that thing where I'm like asking questions again, seeing people's responses and stuff like that. But I hardly use it. I have a lot of followers, but it is helpful to keep in touch with what's going on. Twitter is not the problem. What do you think the problem is, Silent Spartan? Curious. Someone spits something legitimately new and it will draw attention. People are the problem. Oh, people are the problem. It's how it's used. You can't let other people dictate your life. I can agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like the the two different sides of the fence where it's like, is it external? Is it an external problem or is it an internal problem? But at the end of the day, I do try to keep in mind, like, we are responsible for ourselves. You know, at the end of the day, unless you're under very, very extreme and particular circumstances, which most people are not, you have control over the decisions you make in your life. You know, and you are responsible for your own life and your own decisions. So there is absolute truth to that. Yeah. That's why so many that leave come back. I mean, yeah, dude, I saw, like, I go check right now. I go check right now. 40 million views. No, 52 million views on the Rockstar Games Twitter announcing the delay. Like, I mean, you could hate on Twitter, but goddamn, it's got the reach. It's got the reach, bro. It really does. All right. It's bots following bots now. That's wild. You're not talking about X bots either. You're talking about, like, actual bots. You don't often think life could be a predetermined path to success or failure. I think it could be. Your quality of life early on frequently determines how it's all going to go down the line. I think about that. I know that these are, like, members lounge conversations that we're starting to bleed into. And like I said, we're going to be bringing back the members lounge starting next week. I guess I'll just give everybody a little bit of taste, a little taste here, free sample, whatever. Because we get way deeper than this in the members lounge sometimes. But, like, I think about that. You know, I remember hearing that, like, basically the first 5 years of your life determines the exact type of person you're going to be. And you can't do anything about it. And that, to me, is a very disturbing and almost cynical, like, would I be deluded to deny that? But it's something that you inherently want to deny because you don't have control over anything for the first 5 years of your life. And I don't know. It kind of comes back down to that inherent question of, like, can people truly change? Can people change? And when we talk about change, I mean, of course, people can change many different things about themselves, but I mean, like, who you are, you know, like, who you actually are. Can you change that? Perfect Image, you sent another direct. All right, I'll check that out, bro. Early childhood education says differently. Silent Spartan asks, did you ever look into Soul Survivor, the book? Is that the one, I feel like you recommended this to me before. I didn't read it. I could tell you that. Oh, actually, I don't think, oh, yeah, this was the one about the World War II fighter pilot, right? Yeah. Dude, I came across a video about that a while ago and watched it, and I was like, I mean, dude, that's the shit that messes with me, man. Where it's like this kid remembers his past life as a World War II fighter pilot. I mean, it's like young kid that isn't supposed to know shit about shit. I don't know, bro. And then you look in the quantum physics, right? And you look in and like quantum particles and how, like, the same particle can be in two places at once across the entire universe and connected somehow. And it, like, blows scientists' brains up because they're like, that's not supposed to be a thing. I mean, it's just like the more we dig into stuff, the more we look into it, the more it becomes clear, like, you don't know shit, bro. You don't know. You were just meant to be the dude wandering around, looking at the sky, looking at the trees, looking at the greenery, be like, I think I'll build a fucking house today and live in it. And then maybe, grow some crops and hunt some deer and shit. And it's like, that's simple life, bro. Quantum entanglement. There you go. That's some crazy stuff. Perfect Image. You're saying with a direct message, MBG, we can all complain on the prices of games, even consoles are going up. Damn, I hate it. But here, slap in my face. I'm the minority, not the majority. Sorry for the anger. You have to be sorry, man. No, it's cool, dude. I don't want to pay more for shit either. Nobody wants to pay more for shit. Period. You know what I mean? Like, even if you can afford it, like, we don't want to pay more. I think we're, we get used to paying a certain amount, and we're like, this is good. You do quantum physics before breakfast? Lux, why don't I believe you? You dreamt you were a bass player in Pink Floyd. The dream lasted 18 months in the dream state. That was heavy. That is a crazy dream, Titus. I'm not sure what to say about that. I love how it's in Pink Floyd. You were the bassist in Pink Floyd. Now, were you like the bassist? Like you were the bassist? Or were you I don't know the name of the bassist in Pink Floyd, but like you were him? Because that's weird. If all people do is pay attention to people ahead of in the same lineup, how else is anyone going to understand the variety of dimensions around them? My brain's starting to hurt. Roger Waters. Yeah. That's right. He does play the bass, doesn't he? He's a singer in Pink Floyd. And he plays the bass. Okay. Well, actually, I don't know. He plays bass, guitar. I like Pink Floyd. Not a huge fan, but I like a lot of their songs. It's all right, Perfect Image. You don't have to apologize, man. I do appreciate the chat, though. You're not even a decent bass player. Yeah, I had this dream one time where I was on tour with Tool, and as soon as the lights went down and Zombie started playing, I immediately woke up because I'm like, no way. I can't do that. That's definitely a dream. Roger Waters is the greatest songwriter of all time. Just ask him. Note, I don't like Floyd. Boring, pretentious tripe. I know that Roger Waters, there are people who definitely not a big fan. I mean, there's been that Pink Floyd song I've been listening to called Marooned lately. I think that's not Roger Waters. It's the other guy, David Gilmour. I think that was really him. I don't know I don't really know the deep history of Pink Floyd. I know that it's been shaky though, some rough waters. But I've heard so many of their songs growing up, man. Marooned is really good. Marooned, dude, that always makes me feel like it's like that kind of 80s vibe to a degree where you're like, the sun setting, dudes looking out onto the beach, So good. Anyway, where are we? Oh, wow, we're over the 3-hour mark. Okay, I've just been basically rambling at this point. Obviously we kind of, I would say we mostly stayed on gaming topics. We went a little bit off the rails here and there, though. No doubt about that. I'm going to tighten that up, though. I think it's clear that I have to bring back the Members Lounge because the conversations that I would tend to have in the Members Lounge are now bleeding through regular streams. Just I don't think people mind, but it's just I know the way these things are. People they want to have gaming focused conversations because that's what the channel is. If it was a gaming and philosophy channel, I should present it that way. So we'll be bringing back the members lounge starting next week. We're not going to do it every day, but we'll try to do it once, a couple times a week, maybe. We'll just let it flow naturally. But yeah, I think this will be a good place to wrap up the stream. I didn't even really talk about the two other topics that I had listed here, but I guess we kind of somewhat touched on them. PS5 being the best console deal right now. I will say this. I should at least say this before I wrap up the stream because, most people already left, or a lot of people did leave. There is a rumor that Game Pass's price is going to go up next. That came from Shinobi602 over on the Reset Era forums. Not a big surprise, but we're going to be paying attention to if that happens, because if that does happen, I think it's very clear that what Microsoft is doing is not an intention to increase the perceived value of Game Pass. It's just a pure, revenue / profitability move. So the price just went up. Well, yeah. That's the thing. I did find it peculiar yesterday when Microsoft announced all these price increases that the Game Pass price stayed the same. And I think the price of Game Pass is probably going to go up not too long after their showcase, maybe. Because I think they're going to want to show a bunch of games, give release dates, line up the second half of the year. And I think that's when they'll drop that news. So I'm assuming anyway. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. I want to give a big thank you to everybody for not only tuning in and hanging out with me, but especially if you dropped any direct support. We did hit 25 members. We hit our goal, which is great to see. So thank you for that. Obviously, boss is very happy about that. And I want to thank anybody who dropped any super chats or direct donations. I say it all the time, and I'll continue to say it as long as it's true. You guys are the sponsors of the channel. I'm only able to do what I do here because you make it possible, and I'm very grateful for that, and I try to never take advantage of that. And so, times like this, people are struggling, and people are trying to do what they can. And so for those of you who are still going out of your way to contribute to the channel, allow me to do this, just want you to know I really do appreciate that. So also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks. I know he appreciates it. He does a great job. And so Devil Shooter, thank you so much for what you do, man. Night of Cypher, it's okay, man. You don't have to say sorry for your fat fingers. It's all good, bro. It's all good. We know who this is for. Yeah. Oh my God, hold on. Do you see him though? He's buried his face. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but he's just totally buried himself. Well, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. We are wrapping the stream up, but so I don't know if I'm doing anything tomorrow. There may or may not be a video. If not, tomorrow will just be an off day, and we'll be back here Sunday. And hopefully we can have that conversation about a PlayStation showcase once again. So. Whoa, easy there, buddy. Say bye. All right. Guys, hit that like button on your way out, and I'll catch you in the next stream. So till then, take care, everyone.